one. And Father, may we in leadership positions, be they in the church or in politics or just in this community, may we endeavor together to leave Homestead better than we found it. In your Son's precious name, amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Pastor Schiffer, for that beautiful invocation. I love my bumper sticker. I've got 2 cars, and you only gave me 1 sticker, so now I got a second one for my second car. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilwoman Faircloth McCormick? Here. Councilman Maldonado?
Here.
Councilman Shelley?
Here.
Councilwoman Woolman? Councilman Williams?
Here.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Here.
Mayor Bateman?
Here. Thank you, Madam Clerk. And I was referring to, for the camera, the bumper sticker. Let's leave Homestead better than we found it. I think it's a great phrase. Thank you for coming up with this. I'd like to recognize Florida City Councilman Shiver's here tonight with us. Councilman Shiver, 49 years. He's been on the council for 49 years. God bless you. And his son, our former mayor of Homestead, Mayor Steve Shiver. Okay, at this time I'd like to open for public comment. I ask the public just to try to keep it as close to 3 minutes as we can. I understand we have a new monitor, and we have a new monitoring clock and a new monitor. And the city manager has made me aware that the gentleman who handles the clock is the gentleman who's totally responsible for the time, not him. So it is a horn like they have at basketball games. I've asked them to turn it at half decimal, so do not be afraid. We're not behind, we're ahead. So would the first person who would like to speak under the public comments, please come forward.
Good evening, how are you? My name is Mary Andrews, and I'm the CEO of Miami Bridge Youth and Family Services. It's a little intimidating with that horn waiting for it to go off.
That's all right.
But
Speak right into the microphone, all right?
Okay. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I wanted to come before you today. I think that you all have packets of Miami Bridge. They were given to you earlier. And I really haven't come before the council before. But Miami Bridge has been in the city for quite a long period of time. And we're located on 3rd Street. One of the things that I'd like to talk to you about is the fact that we're looking at expanding our services. We're working with the state's attorney's office and many others, because in Homestead there's been an increase in runaways and homeless youth, as well as youth who are becoming victims of crimes, whether it be parents in the foster system or others. And I want to thank Mayor Bateman actually at this period of time. He attended a state's attorney's meeting with me and with the governor, and they're really focusing on South Florida, and I appreciate that very much.
You're more than welcome.
And what Miami Bridge is here to do is to help you as a partner. You have young people that are truant from school, young people that are living in homes that very often the parents have mental health or substance abuse issues. then they run away, they're on the street. Essentially, we saw over 300 young people in Homestead last year that needed emergency shelter. We work very well with the police department, and I have to commend the police department. Whenever there's a disruption, or a lot of times they'll come and speak to the young people, or when they pick them up on the street at 3 in the morning and bring them to Miami Bridge, they really treat the young people very, very well, and sometimes that's a blessing for us as we work together. Many of you, the homeless individuals and young people we treat from 10 to 18, come from all economic walks of life. So they're not just coming from your very poor, high-risk, minority neighborhoods. They're coming from very often some of the higher-end economic homes. One of the things that we'd like to do is I'd like to invite all of you to come to Miami Bridge. I think that one or two of you perhaps already have, and you've seen the facility, but I do personally want to invite you to come. As I said, we're looking at expanding our services. We're looking at fixing up the facility, fixing up the grounds. You've just built a nice emergency police and rescue right next door to us. And so we have a little competition in order to make ourselves better. And one of the things that is very important to us is that the young people are with us anywhere from 30 days up to 5 months. And that's because there's nowhere for them to go. I'm done. Obviously, I'm done, but thank you very much that it didn't resonate for the rest of the evening for me.
He can't beat me out, so he can beat all he wants. But I can tell you that the number one thing I see on this card that really catches my eye, and it's called the Miami Bridge, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Correct.
And that's what grabbed me when I took my visit, because it's one thing to have homeless on our street, adults. But it's a far another thing to have teenagers on our street that are homeless. And whether it be a dispute one night and mom or dad or sister or brother and they leave the house and some type of uncomfort, rage or whatever, they do have some place to fall back on for that night, because that can make or break that young child. And I am 110% behind you. I've already got some community involvement that wants to participate and wants to help.
Thank you.
I know a couple things that Mary pointed out to me that the state attorney was looking for, Kathy Fernandez-Rundle, was that they would like to have some camera surveillance right now around the whole facility. And I don't know if that's because you think the area, or if it's mom and dad's, or whoever it is.
I think the biggest part of the difficulty right now is that when children are removed from the home,
Yeah.
And taken away from the parents for
Sure.
various reasons. Very often the parents do try to find the children because they don't want them testifying to DCF or to anybody
Well,
else.
Thank you very much, and I encourage every councilman to make a visit by there. Comment from the council?
Yes, Mayor,
Yes. Real close.
in trying to
Yes, hi, Councilman Williams.
get my mic to work.
Uh-oh.
Kidding me. We'll work on that as we get better. Let me say that I've been by the facility because it's right down the street from my house, and so and it's also in my district. So what I like to do is see what other areas in which perhaps that you need our immediate assistance to see if we can help with that. I know the mayor's already stated that, but if I can be of any assistance that will help with the program, please don't hesitate.
You were next on the list, actually. We've posted your name in the shelter already.
Oh, okay.
But I certainly would like to invite you to come. I know that there's a possibility, and I would say on March 14th, and Mayor Bateman was instrumental in that, is that I believe the governor's going to make a visit.
Correct, yes.
And I think that we're really looking at making it a safe place. And as the mayor has indicated, looking at the fencing, trying to fix the fencing up, trying to fix the grounds up in the facilities. The other pieces of that are that individuals like yourself to come in and see the facility, see the young people. There's such potential. We have two actually gifted youth in the Homestead shelter right now that were removed from home. And they're 17 and a half.
Okay.
And their parents have actually said, they live in Homestead, but the parents said, I don't want them anymore.
Wow.
They have behavior problems, and so they've refused to come and pick them up. And so I imagine they'll be with us. So I think as we look at how can we expand our services for you so that those youth aren't on the street, and how can we work together maybe to get some supports from the community as well.
Right.
Because when they do leave, if they find their own place at 18 or they're placed in a foster system, how do we get the community to offer the resources that say, if you get in trouble, you can come here, you can talk to this church, you can talk to this school.
Well, when will you be there? I'll be there tomorrow morning.
You'll be there tomorrow morning?
Yes.
What time?
You tell me. I can walk there.
You can walk there?
Right down the street from it.
I can, I have to look at my calendar, but I'll be there, or somebody will be there, but I'll be there. I would like to be there when you come.
I'll be there.
So I'm going to get your number and your
Okay.
cell phone number, and we'll
Yes.
make arrangements tomorrow for us to
Sure.
talk, because that would be very beneficial to us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You're going to give me your cell phone number now?
Yeah, sure.
No, hold on,
305.
hold on 1 minute.
Sure, 305.
Yes, next person, please come up.
That's 305. This for the whole room, too, if you need to call me. 305-282-4467. 4467. You got it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary.
Good
Yes, sir.
evening. My name is Winston Elton. My address is 305 Northwest 9th Avenue, Homestead, Florida. I bring you greetings from Greater New Mount Zion AME Church in Homestead. We the family of a great big church, but have small hearts. We want to say thank you for the service that you gave to us in our 97 years of being existing in the city of Homestead. We want to say thank you for when I came in the City Hall, the last time we had the council meeting over at City Hall, I looked and I saw our church there. And I was just marveling, and I told everybody in the church and in the community that you should go see us in City Hall. And I want to say thank you for the service you gave for us on Pioneers Day, that you was there. I want to thank the council and all its members who was there. And I thank those who didn't come, but you had us in your hearts and minds. We want to say thank you for the Martin Luther King Day Parade that was existing. I apologize, I couldn't be there at the time because of the funeral we had at the church when our old pioneers had passed away. And I felt that it was my job and duty to be there with the family. And I ask y'all to say thank you. The City of Homestead Council, Miss Judy Walton, good afternoon.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Vice Mayor. My name is Alfredo Soler, Campus Director of Dave Medical College, located on 381 North Chrome Avenue. Members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. In 2009, as Dave Medical College was seeking an opportunity down in South Florida, we thought, and at the same time, we managed to come to an agreement with the city, where we established certain properties and we made certain purchases. Currently, where we're at, we have at 304 North Chrome Avenue what we call the Greystone Motel. About 2 years ago, certain members of the city and community leaders were asking for some business owner to step in and make a purchase of this property. As you're aware of, at the time, the property was basically infested with the wrong elements, from prostitution to drug rings, what have you. So Mr. Perez, our CEO and president, stepped in and made a vital investment in that property. Currently, what is going on is that based on certain regulations, they're not allowing Dave Medical College to install a 6-foot ornamental fence. This is a 6-foot ornamental fence, ladies and gentlemen, council members and mayor and vice mayor. Apparently, they're only telling us that we can install a 4-foot fence. Well, we went ahead and we made some homework around the area, and we find that there are certain local entities, businesses, privately owned, that have 6-foot fences. Some of them have ornamental fences, some of them have chain link fences. And what we're asking here, kindly and respectfully to all members, is for their help and the support of the community to install a 6-foot fence, ornamental fence, excuse me. This particular fence has been prepared, and we set up the contract with a local business owner, the Triana business owner, Rick Triana. Unfortunately, for some reason, the business was not aware that there was a change in local city ordinance or zoning ordinance as far as fences is concerned, perhaps because it's old downtown Homestead. I simply cannot say. What I can say is that Day Medical College has set up a contract where up front we paid more than $20,000 to this local business, and right now we don't have anything available, and we're simply asking this city council and the community for a variance to allow us to install the fence.
Okay, well, it's really not the forum for it, but I'm glad to hear what you're saying, because we do have 6-foot fences on Chrome Avenue. We do have them, ornamental white fences. Did your contractor not check the code?
He was not aware of. He was unaware that it was a 6-foot. I mean, they would not allow us to install the 6-foot fence. And as a matter of fact, that fence is prepared and ready to be installed. And we went ahead about 4 months ago, we went ahead and accepted the purchase, the quote that he had established with the college. And right now we have paid $20,000, or a little bit more than $20,000. And we're simply asking for a variance. That is all.
Well, there's a process that you can go through. In the meantime, we're going to find out why 6 on one area of town and why 4 in another area. But there is a process you can go through. There is a variance process. I don't know why it took 4 months or 5 months for a contractor to tell you that, hello, we can't do 6-foot fences on Chrome Avenue. So I'm sure that the Development Service Director has heard us and heard you loud and clear. So I would ask you to go to his office tomorrow, go to Building and Zoning Development Services, and sit down and find out what your contractor has not found out for you yet. And again, it's a very good company, so I'm really kind of confused why he waited 4 months to tell you, hey, I want to get my permit, but I can't have one now because you can't put a 6-foot fence up. So I'm scratching my head. There's got to be more to the story. Yes, Mr. Shelley.
Mr. Mayor, just clarification, do we have an answer for him? I mean, what does the code say in regards to the downtown area?
We do. In the commercial districts, we're allowed to put, you're not allowed to put more than a 4-foot fence inside the front setback. And so we provided the applicant with the remedy for this is an administrative variance. We've provided the applicant with all the paperwork, just need to fill out the administrative variance so we can take care of it in the Development Services Department. So that's been done.
Okay. Okay, there it is, administrative variance. Take the paperwork, fill it out. I'm sorry for the delay. I apologize, but I see it more of a contractor delay than I see it as a department delay. Because if he would have told you the first 10 days that he took your $20,000, it would have been a lot quicker than it is right now. And come to us any time. We're very happy with what's going on downtown. So,
Hey, Mayor?
Will do.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Before you leave, did you all have a conversation, just for my clarity, did you all have a conversation with the Development Services at the time, or that you didn't get the answer that you were looking for, or is it the contractor just told you?
The contractor informed us that we were not able to put the fence.
So
at the time, once everything was set and prepared, apparently they found out that we can't put it up.
okay, but they never went back to the city to
Not from my understanding.
okay.
It's a very good company. I hear what Mr. Williams is saying. Very good. So I'm sure that.
But what I want to bring to the attention of everyone here, with all due respect, Mr. Mayor, It's that we contracted with this local vendor, a vendor that has employees from your city, and now we're left pending on a simple fact of whether or not there is a difference between 2-foot or just install the 4-foot fence. We would not like to install 4-foot fence. We're definitely interested in the 6-foot fence. And simply put, it's not a chain fence. It is an ornamental fence. And I think it is something that revitalizes the area. And as you can all see, when you travel down old downtown Homestead, you will see that there is vast improvement. Nowadays, you see revitalization, you see student life coming around, and we're continuing to progress. And I simply ask to please consider.
Yeah, I think we've kind of covered that, though. I think
We got
all
it.
you had to do is fill out the paperwork,
Right.
and it's pretty
Just wanted
much
to
done.
emphasize that.
Okay, all
No,
right.
thank you very much.
I didn't want
Thank
you to
you.
keep pushing.
And Joe, you may look at Lincoln Martí on Chrome and about 11th. And I think that was done back in 2000. But it's 6-foot white fence in a commercial district, so they must have pulled a variance. They must have done something.
We'll check to see if there's a variance.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, and the council, the subject is utility deposits, and I'd like to think that this comment will be on behalf of a lot of people. But let me tell you what happened to us. We moved down here about 2 years ago from Palmetto Bay, and we bought a house with cash. We went to the utility department to open up the utility account, and I was told you have to pay $350 deposit. I explained to them we had a short sale at some point on our record and the credit, so it was down a little bit. And we're responsible people, as some of you all know we are. And having paid cash for the property, it seemed like we were very low risk. Now, if you want the utility turned on, you have to pay the money. So I paid the money. But if you make the payments on a regular basis, you can call up and get a refund at some point. So about 3 months ago, which is almost 2 years since, I called up and I said, well, what do I have to do? And the answer was, you'll never get your money back until you die or you sell the property. Why? I said, because you missed a payment in March of 2011. Yes, sir, I did. We make all our payments electronically. For some reason, it was bounced back, and I found it out the next month. I paid it immediately. That's a circumstance that should be excused. No, you have to pay or die. So the reason I'm here is to suggest that there ought to be some flexibility in the setting of the fee. There are people who cannot afford that, and maybe actually responsible people. I can afford that, but maybe other people cannot. So I recommend to the council respectfully that there ought to be some flexibility in setting the fees, looking beyond a pure credit score, beyond what's behind it, and also maybe there may be a circumstance that would excuse a person to be late one time in, let's say, a 2-year period. So I respectfully suggest to the council that there ought to be some look at this policy so that it could be revised to be more adjustable to the times we're in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm scrambling to see who the liaison is between customer service. Mr. Burgess, Councilman Vice Mayor Burgess, I'm sure we'll be more than happy to look into it. But you bring a very good point up. I mean, the military brought the same point up just a month or two ago. There are some, the majority of our users are very good payers. We do have some that struggle, and so therefore I think that at times we're more cautious than we should be. We let the bad influence our, I guess, employees to make a decision that we should be making a decision up here for the good as well as the bad.
Yeah. The policy has said that it's a forever thing. You miss the payment once, you forever will never receive it back until you're dead.
And we are tough.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burgess, Vice Mayor's going to give you his card, and he's going to follow up with you. Now, we're going to get a little excitement. I got some refreshing...
Hope I have some good news for you. My name is Peyton Toon, Mayor and Vice Mayor, and to the council, thank you for having us. I'm the director of the Homestead Y, and give a couple of updates. Last year, when I got a chance to speak to you, we realized we hadn't been talking to you enough, and so in keeping with that covenant, we're going to be telling you some good news this evening. There's a handout that I had emailed out before, but there's also some hard copies circulating. In thousands of communities across the United States, there's a local YMCA, and the Homestead Y is your local YMCA, and I have the privilege of being the director of the Homestead Y. We're located at 1034 Northeast 8th Street, Campbell Drive, Harrisfield. And a couple of just updates for you for this February. We have a commitment to run programs that are for youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. We're a nonprofit organization. We're a volunteer-led organization. Last year, we gave out over $250,000 in subsidies and scholarships to families here in Homestead to stay with our commitment that no one's turned away based on an inability to pay. So just a couple updates for February. One of the things we changed for this year, since we're all about families, if you're a family in Homestead and you are a member of the Y, youth sports are included. And that's a big deal to a lot of families that are trying to pay for all the things that got going on in their life. And so whether it's soccer, flag football, basketball, volleyball, these are things that are included. So we're sort of a one-stop shop for families. 2 years ago, we had under 40 kids playing youth basketball, and we have 260 kids playing basketball this winter. We do basketball 4 times a year, and we don't do basketball. You know, I mean, it'd be nice to create the next LeBron James, but we do it. We do it because we know the kids learn life lessons doing that. They learn teamwork and core values. A couple other things that are exciting that are going on. We're continuing to try and bring new things to the city of Homestead. Body pump is sort of a nationwide craze. We brought it to Homestead. It's not offered anywhere else in town. It's something for adults to do to stay fit and stay active. We're doing a class for employees of the city of Homestead. If you don't know, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, there's a Get Fit class. It takes place at the Y. And something that's near and dear, I think, to most people in this room's heart. We're a nonprofit, so we raise money, and we're doing our annual support campaign right now. We're raising $40,000 just for our scholarship program, so that we can make sure that we don't have to tell any family no when they come in and say, hey, could we get a little bit of help to get involved in the programs that we offer. And then maybe connected to things that have gone on before this council, I did bring some photos to prove. I'm doing lots of facility improvements to the Homestead Y. It looks great. We're painting. The air conditioning work in the Family Center is complete. We're working on a grant with the city as well to try to get air conditioning squared away for the preschool next door. We're working on a CDBG grant. There's new paint, new carpets. We got the roof cleaned last week, working on some bullet holes in the roof. I'd like to think those are people just celebrating and the bullets come back down, so we're getting those fixed. New TVs all around, and yeah, a lot of good stuff going on. So we're sort of renovating the building like $500 at a time is what I tell my staff. So.
Excellent. Well, thank you for updating us, because you're right, we don't get very many updates from the Y, but thank you, and it looks like some major improvements. Questions from council? Sure, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just to, he capped on this campaign promise, the fundraiser activity he's got going on at the Y right now, and every Tuesday night, they're having the event. As far as calling parties, they're trying to raise it. They asked me to be the chair this year, which I have done, so I'm trying to recruit volunteers to show up and help us raise this money, this $40,000 for the local Homestead YMCA. So I wanted to make sure that invited everybody out to the Tuesday night calling parties at the YMCA. Come out and enjoy and see if we can raise money for the local families.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Next. Yes.
Peyton, I promise I'll be there next Tuesday night.
Okay.
I let you down this week, but I had some family things, so I promise.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruby Ramos. I'm the wife of SPC Gerardo Campos. He was killed in action last June. With the year mark fast approaching, I've been wondering if there's any way possible we could get a bench or name a street after him here in Homestead. He was a resident of Homestead all his life and will always be a hero. He fought for all of us till his last breath and deserves to have his name always remembered. He left behind his daughter, who is now only 1, and though she's still too young to understand, I know someday she will also acknowledge him as a hero. So I ask again from the bottom of my heart, if there's anything we can do to get his name on a bench or something down that line, I would really appreciate it, and so would the Campos family.
Oh, my heart goes out to you, and I remember the whole occasion, and both families were here, and I think that that's something that one of the council members, Mr. Williams, Mr. Maldonado, that maybe one of you guys would like to do a little think tank and maybe come up with something. We have street naming for fallen police officers. Our military is just as near and dear to us as our police officers are. So could I ask, Mr. Maldonado, would you look into something like for that?
I'll be more than happy to, Mayor. If I'll get you my card so that we could discuss afterwards, and we'll discuss it and bring it before the council as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Good evening. My name is Matt Rodolante. I'm actually the managing director for Sperry Van Ness Miami. We're a commercial real estate advisory firm. My family's been in Miami-Dade County since 1928. We've owned about 1,000 acres in and around Homestead, and you know, we've leased it out to farmers like Torbert and some of the other good farmers in town. Namely, the reason that I'm here is similar to the bumper sticker. Leave Homestead better than you found it. I've been an active participant in the market here, for the past several years. I've been a member of the Homestead Chamber since 2004. I've sat on the City Council Hall Committee, which that's finally taken place, which is going to be great. There's a lot of changes that are taking place in the South Dade, South Florida market, and a lot of times Homestead gets overlooked in that process. And I think it doesn't really need to be that way. Homestead has a lot of amenities, great amenities to offer companies and people alike. And, similar to how, I helped Dade Medical come into the Chrome Avenue market. They were going to land over in the Winn-Dixie. They landed on Chrome Avenue. We took them to a couple of the owners there. Stanley Levine, the late Stanley Levine, a great gentleman who did a lot of civil-minded stuff for the Chrome Avenue section. Sold some of his properties to Dade Medical, and since then they've really, done a lot for the area. We put Subway on Chrome, which was the first national chain to go right there. So, there's been a lot of good things happening in that area, and you can see how just a little bit of a push can really make a difference. Homestead has so much to offer, and there's a lot of, great blocks of property in and around Homestead, and we've seen some successes and we've seen some failures in certain respects. The spring baseball field ballpark was something that we've since gone there and done some stuff with the stadium, but from a planning standpoint, my thought process is if you can get a marketing program together, get a lobby together, and really go after some of these national companies that are looking for new homes for their headquarters, and make Homestead a viable option for them. We can create some basic employment down here. For every one basic employment job that you have, you get 2.5 service jobs. A service job is similar to a school teacher, somebody working at a pizza shop, restaurants, and things of that nature. And Homestead doesn't have to be only a bedroom community for Miami. It could be really a destination in and of itself. So, perhaps a good way to take that approach would be to have an economic development council and, maybe have a more planned approach to some of the larger properties in the neighborhood. And
thank you. And that's why I recruited you to sit on the Mayor's Economic Development Council. And hopefully you've been working hard, and we're going to meet soon, and we're going to make an announcement. All right, and I appreciate it. Mr. Rodolante is very involved countywide. It is incredible, the movers and shakers that he deals with on a daily basis. We've had several meetings, and we hope to come back to the city here very shortly with a very powerful economic development council that will do nothing but brainstorm several times a month and do what they can to open some doors here for some of the national chains and national firms that you deal with. But thank you very much for coming.
Mayor.
Kudos.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could you say your name and company name again? I couldn't hear you. We're having troubles with hearing, so please speak up.
Rodolante.
Yes, it's Matthew Rodolante with Sperry Van Ness,
R-O,
Tolante.
and you're with, I'm sorry?
The company's name is Sperry Van Ness.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's a national firm, right?
Yeah, we're a national
Yeah, I
firm,
checked it out.
locally owned and operated. I mean, the idea is you get some good firms like Dade Medical in here, and it really supports the community, and they give back a lot. So, you know, you get that sustainable, microeconomic platform going.
The reason I'm asking is, you know, I'm in real estate as well, and I've never met you, and I didn't know that you were part of all those different companies coming in, so I look forward to having a meeting with you as well. Thank you.
Great. I look forward to it as well. Thanks.
I think you, when we come back, you put a list of some of the businesses you brought here, and I think that you'll open up some eyes. I mean, I was very impressed. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Steve Schwartz. I'm the commissioner for the Howard Palmetto Aces. There's a couple of our Aces players here. You guys want to introduce yourself?
Hunter White.
Liam Reed.
Ross Husband.
Ryan McInnes.
Danny King. Joe Largo.
It's our future there.
That's exactly right. Who's got the papers for the mayor? And we have a couple of pins. You can bring that up. Just bring it right up there. We're part of Howard Palmetto Baseball Softball Association, which has been a not-for-profit for 51 consecutive years, serving all of South Dade. I personally have been a volunteer for 21 years. And we have a recreational baseball league, and we are also now the proud sponsors of building the Miracle League, which is going to be for handicapped kids to play baseball, and we're working on that as a fundraising project. And we also have our Howard Palmetto Aces. We have put together a bunch of kids that are the most competitive players that want to play in more competitive venues. But we have a very different approach. We want these kids to learn how to fundraise, and we want these kids to learn how to value the experience of playing baseball. We're not trying to bring up Major League Baseball players, although I'm sure they'd like to see themselves in the major leagues. We're trying to bring up the leaders in our community for the future. And what we do is, basically, we are trying very hard to fundraise to go to tournaments, and we have the biggest tournament in the United States in front of us, and that's in Cooperstown, New York. And we are one of 104 teams a week that are invited to go there for the summer, and they are teams that come from all over the United States. And we want to carry the banner, which when we enter the stadium and we march, we want to carry a banner showing that Homestead is one of our sponsors. And that's really what we're looking for right now, is a sponsorship. These kids have sat here now tonight. I hope they've learned something, and I hope that the process of gaining sponsorships, you know, is valuable to them. But we are different than typical baseball teams. Typical travel teams and so forth are profitable organizations with a lot of ex-baseball players and so forth, all running programs to earn a profit. I earn nothing. We are a 100% volunteer organization, and we are taking our kids, instead of asking parents to write checks, some can, some can't. We do not want to discriminate in that way. We raise our own money, and the kids go out and do everything they can. This is the first municipality we've approached. I think this is great for us, and I think these kids would like to carry a banner for Homestead, put it on our website, put it on our cases and so forth, which we gave you some pins up there. We're looking for a sponsor. We want a municipality to sponsor us, and Homestead is our choice.
Thank you very much. Questions from council?
Mayor?
Please.
You say you're based out of where now? Where?
We pretty much all of South Dade. We have kids in our league. We have close to 900 kids in our league that'll come from South Miami through Homestead. And we play in tournaments.
How many kids from Homestead?
I don't have a breakdown of that. I mean, it's pretty much from everywhere. It's kids that are looking for a recreational league that join our league, more so than more highly competitive leagues.
Right.
We're very family oriented. We do a lot of family things, so we're a little different than most of the leagues. But this is the Aces, and these are our special kids. Okay. And there are 11 kids here at the 12 and under to go to that particular tournament.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Question, Mayor?
Yes.
Through the mayor. Do you have any pamphlet information that you brought for us that we could read about the organization? Do you have that?
We brought that piece there, which has quite a bit about all the expenses for us to go to Cooperstown. It's really, Cooperstown is the big event. It's the biggest tournament in the United States, and these kids want to go. It's expensive, and you know, we need to raise the money for it to support it.
Mayor?
Yes, Ms. Palmer.
I'm Parks and Rec's chair, so if it's all right with my colleagues, I'd be happy to sit down and have a meeting with our Parks and Rec's director and you, Mr. Swartz. Is that okay?
Yes, that would be great.
And I look forward to it, and that way I'll report back to my colleagues.
Perfect. And should I contact you for that?
If you'll leave your information with Dennis over here,
Okay.
He's our Parks and Rec's director, then we'll be in contact with you.
Okay, appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And-
Thank you, guys.
And these are our special kids?
I'm sorry?
These are our special kids?
These are kids that
That's all you need.
I have handpicked myself for this team that are friends that have played together a number of years, and their parents are a great bunch of kids.
Well, that's great that you have those friendships. They'll last forever.
They
My
will.
sons
I
did.
agree.
My sons
My
did.
son is 20, he's going to be 27 now. I do this without my son in the baseball
Well,
league.
my son is much older than me.
Oh.
My son is 38, and he played baseball from the time he was 4 years old until a senior in high school, and he still has those same friends, one of them being right here
Oh,
beside of
okay.
me. And so stay together, guys, stay together. Be true to one another.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all very
Thank you,
much.
Mayor.
Yes. Okay. George, did you order an intermission?
No, go ahead.
I'm just kidding. Picking on the manager. Good to see you
Mayor,
again.
Vice Mayor, and City Council. My name is George Alvarez. I'm the president of the Miami Disc Golf Association. If you don't know what disc golf is, a lot of people call it froth, frisbee golf. These discs are a little different than frisbees. As you can tell, they're a little smaller, they're heavier, they fly a lot further. We have drivers like these. As you can tell, they're very aerodynamic. Then we have mid-range like these, and then we also have putters like these. Very similar to golf. The game is basically you have to get your disc, throw it in the basket, okay? And you can have 18 holes, just like you have 18 holes in golf. Instead of you hitting a ball, the ball goes into a hole, you throw a disc, and the disc goes into the basket, and it's free. A lot different than golf. And you're also going to walk a lot playing 18 holes. We've been around in Miami for the last 25, almost 30 years now, which we started off with two different groups, but the first original group started off with a park in Coconut Grove, Peacock Park, about 30 years ago. And the sport's been around since 1969, which a lot of people didn't know. It started in California, where the Frisbee craze started, and now it's basically in 33 different countries. We have over 4,000 courses in the United States, and it's, like I said, it's free for anybody to play. I'm starting to work now with the public schools to introduce disc golf as a recreational sport, wellness activity to keep the kids off the streets and basically playing activities like disc golf. It's not a mainstream sport, but it's starting to become a mainstream sport. The more ambassadors like me come out and show the sport, the more people are aware of the sport, and they go out to their parks and they go play, which is great. Nowadays, you don't see a lot of people playing with their kids and families in the parks like you used to. Well, this gives them a reason to go out and play for an economic price. because a disc is going to cost you roughly $20 to $25. You can get some used discs that could be $2 to $5. So really all you need is one disc, and you go out and play. That's it.
Very good. Questions from council? I mean, how many acres does it take to, I mean, golf, it takes a lot.
Well, think of disc golf as in here, like this basket here. We can put different placements around this basket, and it could basically fit in this room. I teach seniors and people in wheelchairs at Special Olympics to just roll the disc to the basket so they can actually play it in this little hall. So just as small as this place is, we can have 1, 2, 3 baskets. Or we can have an open area like the, let's say, Palmetto Bay Village Center. We have a course there which has 80 acres. And we created a championship course there where we had the world's champion play there this past November. And now, because we did this, now we're recognized all over the United States for what we created in Palmetto Bay. I'd love to do the same thing here in Homestead, to where we can have a huge tour here, which can bring up to about 50,000 people in 2 weeks to come here just to play these tournaments. So it's going to be a nice economic impact for your city, but also it's for your residents. You know, for them to go out and play anytime they want, rain, shine, they can play disc golf. It's very different than a lot of typical sports. So you have to basically think out of the box. It's not baseball, it's not football, it's not golf, but it's disc golf.
It's competition, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And we have Boy Scouts that I've actually gotten to play with seniors at the Palace in Kendall, Indian Hammocks. So the Boy Scouts can go out with the seniors that are in their mid-90s or 80s, and they're playing together, and it's different generations that are playing together to play disc golf. So you can configure it however you'd like, with different ages, same friends, families, etc. Go play.
Excellent.
Mayor?
Okay?
Yes, Ms. Woolman.
I'm sorry, it seems to be all about sports tonight, but we've done some research on this. Dennis and I have done some research on it, and I've never met you. I don't know if you've met with Dennis before.
I have, yes.
Okay. I mean, I love it because our special needs kids can do this very easily. And
Fun,
also
can.
our seniors, as you said. I've really tried to do research. It's fairly new, but it's really up and coming, and everybody I talk to seems to love it. What I love about it so much is that it can be incorporated into a park on very little space.
Exactly.
You can take as much space or as small a space. So if if it's the mayor and council's will, I think we need to develop a little bit better proposal as to what we might want to do, and then we'll work with Dennis and his staff and bring back to council. I didn't know you were going to be here, but I've never done it before, but I've seen it down at Peacock Park and different places, and I know my little disabled one, I think he could play that, so.
Pretty much anybody can play.
Yeah.
I literally teach kids at the farmers markets that are 3 years old and seniors that are in their mid-90s. And then from the Special Olympics, people in wheelchairs, so pretty much anybody can play. So it's nice because it's a sport that you're not really intimidated because it's the big guy that can play it the best or the strongest or the one that can throw the best. No. In this sport, anybody can play. Sort of like pool. Everyone's even. Okay, and you basically start off with the basics and you play.
So Mayor, if you will, I will, if Dennis can fit it in, or if we can make it happen, we'll come back to council and let you know, and maybe incorporate some of our special needs schools and classes and work around that as well.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Jessica Uhake from Chefs on the Run, 10 East Maori Drive, Homestead, Florida 33030. I'm only here quickly to say thank you to the community for your support, to the councilman, I know that since I was born and raised here, I know the community can come together, so thank you very much. We're going to be at South Beach Food and Wine Festival this Sunday, representing Homestead and Chefs on the Run, and they're making a pretty big stink about it, that we're the only place in Homestead. So it will be, in the beginning, saying Chefs on the Run Assorted Cuisine in Homestead, and we'll report back next month, and we'll take pictures, and we'll put it on our website, and there you go. And Bite with Belkis has brought so many people down here, And so many people say, what are you doing in Homestead? So
It's excellent.
I love it. Okay, thank you
Excellent.
very much.
I'm very happy to help.
Thank you.
I think it's very, very fortunate that we have somebody like you that can compete or willing to compete in a contest like that.
We'll see what else it brings.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, Dan, how are you, sir?
Hey, good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Dan Carter. I am with the Kiwanis Club, and I'm chairman of the Scholarship Committee. The Scholarship Committee is looking to host an event right here in this building, in this location, on March 9th. And I want to thank the mayor and Councilman Maldonado and the Parks people for arranging for us to be able to have the event here. It's a big help. And what we're doing is I have flyers here. There are some on the desk out front, and I'll leave some more. But the flyer explains the event. We're going to have a reverse raffle with the grand prize of $10,000. We're going to sell no more than 300 tickets, and it looks like we will sell the entire 300 tickets. Now, as we proceed through the evening and we draw the numbers, we're going to draw 299 numbers, and the number that's not drawn is going to be the winner of the $10,000. We're just going to do it backwards instead of just pulling the first ticket and that's the winner. But we're going to give some other things away as well. We're going to get a flat screen TV, a nice barbecue grill. We're going to give, we've got a nice men's watch and maybe a vacation trip. And some things like that. We're going to have a two-night stay at the Hyatt in Doral to give away. And so this is going to be an exciting evening. It's going to be right here. We're going to have food and music. The tickets are going to $100, and that's basically the reason why I'm here. First, I wanted to thank the council for their help, but I'm here to sell tickets, and if anybody can help us with tickets and you're interested and want to have a good evening here in Homestead, we invite you to come. And I want to let you know that I have tickets. The mayor has tickets.
The mayor has 10 tickets left, so I'll be more than happy to help you.
He would like some help laying off those tickets. I know that. And if you know any other Kiwanians, you can contact them for tickets. Ed Bowe is here. He has tickets available to him. So we do invite you to buy tickets. We also invite you to join us that evening on March the 9th, starting at 6 p.m. And what the Kiwanis does, all this money is going to go to scholarship money. All the funds raised are dedicated to scholarships. Kiwanis basically is a civic organization that basically invests time and money with the local youth. We do everything from sponsoring Little League and AYSO VIP soccer. We go into the elementary schools and we encourage the kids to bring up their grades. It's an interesting program we have called BUG, Bring Up Grades. And we have 12 elementary schools in this area that we're going to right now. And we also sponsor Key Clubs. We are in 6 high schools sponsoring Key Clubs. And the money, we're going to give away $1,000 scholarships. That's already been determined. And we just look forward to a great event, and we're looking forward to participation from this community.
Thank you so much, Dan. We work hard for Kiwanis and...
Wait, I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question for the,
Dan.
oh, this is up loud.
Carter.
For the Kiwanis representative. I think the BUG program is phenomenal. A lot of the children benefit from it because those children that may not make the traditional honor roll are recognized for bringing up their grades, whatever their grades were previously. So that is phenomenal. My question to you is, how many scholarships will you be sponsoring or dispersing this year, and how do students apply for those scholarships?
Okay, the scholarship application is on our website, which is homesteadkiwanis.org. They can click on the location there where there's a link that they can download the application and print it. Our scholarship emphasizes academics, leadership, and community involvement or community service. Last year, we gave away 10 scholarships, $500 last year. We didn't have as much money, but we gave away 10 scholarships, $500 each, and the community service that was represented in those, the average was probably around 300 hours of community service, and we had one young lady that did almost 1,500 or more community service hours. I mean, these are just outstanding students that we award them to. If the success of this event will determine how many scholarships we will issue. Last year, the 10, I see us giving at least 10 or 12, maybe more. They're open to students of Southgate area, just defined rather broadly, because we have local residents where the students are actually going to schools at Coral Reef. Last year, the 10 students were represented by 6 high schools. That was Homestead, Southgate, Robert Morgan, Coral Reef, Princeton Christian, and Colonial Christian. And one interesting side thing for people that are educators and very interested in young people as they go through their schoolwork, we didn't know it, but we found out after we awarded those scholarships that 4 young ladies attended the same kindergarten class. They actually started, you know, in the same class and got off to a good start, and they were encouraged all the way, and it was just sort of an interesting sort of side thing to know that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Yes, sir.
Edward Powell, 745 Southeast 18th Lane. 3 things. Actually, I had nothing. And I said, well, I got 1 thing, I got 2, now I got 3 things. Clara and I have the honor and pleasure of being involved with the Toastmasters. Toastmasters came to Homestead 2 or 3 years ago. Clara has been with Toastmasters for years. Clara is on her 4th or 5th level of competent speaking. She's doing some international stuff. Mr. Ursik, taking pictures here, he has come to our club and lit the thing on fire. We meet Tuesday mornings at the Community Bank building, their headquarters, from 7:30 to 8:30. And Mr. Carter, you used to be a Toastmaster. You got to come back. We need you there. Okay, just that. Okay, the next item, Kingman in the morning has become Speedway. And luckily, I don't get on that except Tuesday morning to go Toastmasters. It's a raceway trying to get to Kingman, or trying to get to Campbell. Trying to take the turn to go to the turnpike is getting to be murderous. And the people that are trying to get off the turnpike, get out in the middle of the road, someone's going to get killed there. And what's going to happen, when that happens, we're going to get a light or something. Or maybe we can get those, trying to get the exits changed so we're not crossing into traffic. That's a big deal. That's a major problem. Last one. The Walmart that was going to go in next to Blake Chevrolet at 304 and US 1. It's boarded up. Nothing's happened. Has that turned into a toxic nightmare? And I know they had that issue. Is that dead in the water? Is it,
No.
What's happening?
Well, what I know is very little, but they've filed for a site plan, but they've also gone after some type of government funding to do the cleanup.
Brownfield?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Anybody know anything else? Sure, please.
Mr. Powell, one thing that we are doing down there on Campbell Drive is removing some palm trees so it'll make people have better access to cross the highway there, have more visibility, and hopefully reduce the wait time there. But we have also reached out to the Turnpike Authority, and without much luck there, is to try to make a entrance across there on their property. Now we've got problems with where the property sits for the hotel and all kinds of things. So it doesn't look like that's a feasible do at this time for them without a lot of work. And they didn't seem willing to want to do a lot of work down here for us. But we'll keep pushing and prodding at them, and hopefully one day we can get it done.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Maldonado.
Excuse me. Well, this thing's loud. You know, Ed Powell, thank you for bringing that up. I actually brought that up not too long ago because when my sister came down to visit from another state, she came over here. She actually got in an accident crossing to get on the turnpike and totaled my father's car. And so, you know, I've kind of mentioned it. You know, I every morning, anyone that's on the east side, Patricia, Councilman Burgess, you know, that's a constant issue with the traffic and trying to get on the turnpike, and we brought that to the attention, and we know that Julio's been working on that. But I was also going to bring it up at the, during my minutes at the end of the meeting in regards to another areas over in the Waterstone entrance. I know that they've always been working on trying to get another light over there. So 312 is getting busier and busier, and as we get these houses that are filling up in Oasis, Oasis is huge, and it's not even halfway full. And in Waterstone and Malibu, you know, those houses are getting purchased and they're being occupied, and the traffic is growing significantly in the area. So I would urge, you know, not only this council but staff, and I know Mr. Manager, you've been on top of this and know with Julio, but it's very important that we get with our commissioners and our representative, John Burgess. I know that you're working through the Miami-Dade League of City to really make a push to bring everyone to the table, because we're going to see changes coming quickly as these houses are being sold. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you want to, you know, get someone on board from the council to work hand in hand, and let's make a push on this area, because we have Waterstone entrance and the entrance to the turnpike. Those are very key, important areas in the area where we live. So I just want to, since Ed Powell brought that up, that's an issue that I see on a daily basis. So again, I was going to bring it up tonight, so I'm glad he brought it up. So hopefully we'll get some direction with this council.
Thank you. And the trees we're removing now, believe it or not, there was a drive around that we did with the manager and I and the chief of police and the director of the Turnpike Authority. And the director of the Turnpike Authority actually pointed it out. She was, how did those trees get planted there? And so that's what really started the whole pot stirring right then. Somebody from the state of Florida, out of Orlando, actually caught that. And then George moved forward on it. So I think that we ought to look at each intersection and each in and out of big neighborhoods like at Waterstone and Malibu Bay and others.
And also, Mayor, because we went out there, I know you personally asked the director to look at it and drove her to the specific areas and said, can we please have these? So these items were specifically mentioned to the director, and we're hoping for some action. But like I said, you know, what you can do is ask. They ultimately have the authority. It might be good also for members of the public to send correspondence asking for assistance. Maybe their state representatives, some sort of, you know, assistance from people who have the authority to make the decisions.
And that's my point exactly. Let's get everyone on board, and let's make a push for this, because unless we do, you know, it's just going to be, well, eventually we'll get to it. And we're growing at a rapid pace, and every morning the entrance of Waterstone and the entrance of that turnpike are piling up, and we already saw I saw an accident with my family, and like Ed said, we're going to continue to have some more issues. So please, let's move forward on this as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
And if you want me to take point on it, let me know.
Please take point on it.
Mayor, I just have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Powell, Toastmasters. I attended one of those meetings and put myself up there to have my public speaking critiqued, and boy, was that tough. I have a question for you. Are you still meeting at Community Bank? Okay, great. Polish up my skills a little bit, so I'll be back over there to join you.
Oh
Okay,
my God.
Thank you so much. It's great. It's tough though, so be ready.
Yeah. Okay, and with that said, yes, Councilman Maldonado, if you'd like to head something up, put a little committee together and take a look at that, it'd be great. Kudos to the manager and to Dennis, to your group, because not only did we remove the trees, but we actually reinstalled the trees out by the racetrack, so that's excellent. Okay. Is that okay, Ms. Marlowe?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, that concludes public comment, and we'll move on to the first item, which actually we need a motion. Any deletions, deferrals?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we'd like to defer tab 8 and tab 9. And I'd like to request an executive session on the Faddis, Joanna Faddis versus City of Homestead case, LeLay versus City of Homestead, Nemec Howard versus City of Homestead, which is a workman's compensation case, and USA versus City of Homestead, which is the Alger case, to discuss the status of those and bring you up to date. And those will be scheduled by the clerk, please.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Need a motion on the two deferrals, please.
Motion?
Move it.
Thank
Second.
you. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, first item of the night. We want to update request Gateway Animal Rescue, known as GAR. Come forward. GAR. This I put on as a discussion item so that all of council could hear what they were attempting, or that they were telling me, and I said, look, all of council needs to hear this so it can be discussed openly and transparently in the public. State your name and address and...
Alessandra Schlichter, 3140 Fairways Drive, Homestead, Florida. Thank you. Good evening, City Council, everybody, City Mayor. I'm here to thank you guys, thank you all for hiring an animal control officer that's dedicated and licensed for the first time, I believe. You hired him last year, and thank you. We so needed an animal control officer that was a dedicated animal control officer, not just a code enforcement on the side, picking up an animal here and there. So we really, really appreciate that move and that effort. It's very much needed. Gateway Animal Rescue, our mission is to get a shelter built here in Homestead and a no-kill shelter. And currently, what we wanted to discuss is the fact that the one animal control officer, he spends his day, basically he reports Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the afternoon. At 7, his office is in the police department. He spends his morning answering calls from the day before, and then he attends roll call at the police station some of the times, and sometimes not, but and then he goes out on the road. He spends probably 2 to 3 hours patrolling the road or following up on calls, writing his citations, and then 3 hours of his day, his last 3 hours of the day, is scheduled to drive up to Medley to deposit whatever he picked up from the day. Now, he does this drive every day, and it's an hour out of his way each way if he doesn't hit traffic, and then he spends an hour there filling out the paperwork and depositing the animals. Well, that doesn't leave a very big part of his day actually helping the animals and following up on the calls. And when he does pick up an animal that has a chip or a collar or a tag, he takes it up. If he can't find the owner immediately, he takes it up to the Medley Animal Shelter, which then the owner, has to drive all the way up there to go get it if they have the time and the means to do it. Well, we're currently, I believe he will occasionally, if he runs out of time, will deposit an animal in the barn at the rodeo temporarily, or if he gets overloaded in his truck, he'll park some at the rodeo barn. But we're proposing a solution to this problem to give him more time on the road picking up animals, helping our stray community by, I want to introduce Dr. Green. Dr. Green is the owner of Homestead Animal Hospital. And anyway, he has 20 outdoor dog runs that are unused. He'd be willing to, for a cursory fee of $1 a year, lease to the city these outdoor dog runs for the animal control officer to park animals that have tags, license, and collars so that the owners can come locally looking for their animals, and they can stay for a few days until the owners are found, or then the animal control officer would only have to make that trip up to Medley 2, maybe 3 times a week instead of every day. That would give them significantly more time to spend on the road curbing our strays and helping our animals, and also really significantly help the owners who have lost pets that have gotten away and they don't have to drive to Medley. So, so that's what we're proposing, and we've got an estimate. The outdoor shelters, the outdoor dog runs aren't roofed right now. There's no roof on them, but they're in good condition. We've got a quote here from a construction company that's willing to do the labor for free, and just for the cost of materials to put the roof so that these animals are protected from the rain and the, the sun. So that's what we're proposing is to help the city, help the animals. So that's what we're asking.
Okay, council, questions?
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Burns.
I guess, first, I applaud you for your efforts. My wife is there with you guys under a different shelter, on a different umbrella, doing things like this every day. So I applaud you. I know it's a thankless job that everybody does and helping out these animals. And I believe that they actually brought down and are getting a chip reading device donated through their thing to help the officer here in town if it hasn't been delivered already. But I guess one comment is, how do we prevent this, or how do you see us preventing this from becoming a county-wide drop site, so much like the Redlands has become? If they know that we're going to be sheltering the dogs, I mean, Dr. Green, I'm sure you've seen it over there where people just come and drop their dog over your fence or tie them up to the fence, as I've gone over there and untied them with my wife before. So I think that's one thing that we need to make sure we take into account for, is how we're going to keep this where you don't show up at your office on a Monday morning and there's 25 dogs running around in your parking lot.
It could potentially happen. It's already happened.
Right, and it could happen now, but I think we've got to really make sure that we have some way to prevent that from happening. Because that's what frightens me for you, is what do you do then?
Well, this would be for all the animals that are chipped, tagged, and collared. The ones that are obviously stray, dumps, ferals, would still be run up to Medley.
Right, but I'm just saying we got to make sure we can prevent it from becoming a drop site for people who don't want to drive to Medley.
But actually, if they do drop them, that helps us because now they're not roaming the street. They're there. That'll save the animal control officer time from having to go out on the streets and go get them. They're already there.
I like your answer. Wow, that is great.
Okay. Well, I'm just making sure. Secondly, I guess this goes over to the manager and to the who, if we rent this, who is responsible for the insurance? If we take a $1 a year lease on this, we become liable for injury insurance of the property, or how would that work?
I'm not really familiar with this proposal. We haven't met with this entity. They haven't presented anything to us, so I don't really have any detail beyond what's in your packet. We're happy to meet with them and try to better understand the proposal if you'd like, assuming you'd like it to go in that direction.
I mean, I've got more questions, does the code allow this? Would we have to rewrite the code and things like that? So in my eyes, and I spoke with Lissa and them earlier, I didn't know anything about it other than the one page that we had here and I think the best scenario for all of us would be for them to sit down, Dr. Green, Lissa, anybody else from the organization that wants to come and sit down and make sure that we as a city understand what our fiduciary responsibility would be in the long run, not just now the money to build it, but that and that we're all on the same plan, and that one, the county allows us to do this, two, our own code allows us to do this, and things like that. So I think a meeting would be in my eyes the best alternative at this time.
Okay,
I don't know how anybody else.
Go ahead. Further questions? Mr. Shelley.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yeah, I commend you for your efforts, because I know that you've been working very hard to try to get this to go forward, and so I think you're making a lot of good progress. I do have the similar concerns, though, as well, more from the legal aspect of it, the possibly repairing or helping to repair the cages and the shelters is not so much of a concern to me as it is this dollar a lease concept, where once it's leased to us, then what is the liability that flows, and then does this all of a sudden become a service that we have to provide? And then if a dog gets sick, or if a handler gets bit, or that's really more of my concern. I would rather, so I guess I need answers, so I direct you to try to get those answers and try to find out, is there a solution here, or can we help facilitate maybe the repairs, but have the dollar and the lease be done through the organization and the hospital directly? That way the city's cut out and we don't have to worry about possible liabilities and staffing issues that might flow from that. So I have no problem directing you to get more information and bringing back some answers for us.
Council members, further questions? Please, Mr. Maldonado.
Yeah.
Mr. Maldonado.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just a quick question. Yeah, I read the, what you did. Again, thank you for all your hard work. We know how important that is in our community, and South Dade has always been the dumping ground, unfortunately, for these dogs from Miami. One of the questions that, I think what you're doing is, and being proactive, it's a great thing. And, I could support this once we get everything in line, because I know it does help us out, and it does help our one animal control officer. So I think it's a good thing for the city. It's a win-win. My question that I'd like to ask is, have you approached any other kennels within the neighboring area? And if they have any extra space to do something like this, if we're going to do that, maybe we include other kennels. I don't know what the log is for our animal control person, so I'd like to get some more information on that as well, and see what, some feedback on him. And I know you're reporting for him, and I appreciate that. But, have some logs on board with the manager in the meeting, so that we know what this is entailing. So I could support it, but again, going through the manager and having a meeting, I think it's a great effort, and I applaud you for it. Another thing I'd like to ask is, as you guys, I know this is going to have, you guys going to start meeting, just what is the budget that we have, what does the county have in animal control, and what are we doing? Just get some numbers out there, just help out in the process. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Wallman.
Thank you.
Welcome.
First of all, Art, thank you. Arthur's my Molly Sue's doctor, and my husband's colleague, and my friend. And Merv's your friend too. But Alyssa, thank you so much for spearheading everything that you do, and Ellen, I love you so. But I think what needs to be done here is to realize, and I got some figures this afternoon. I was curious as to what our animal control is doing, and the numbers are mind-boggling to me, considering that he only has a very limited amount of time, and we're looking just an approximation of 110 dogs in 30 days, and that's a lot of dogs. And I know for myself, is that Crystal right there? Hey, Crystal. Can't hardly see her back there. But I know for myself, one day I called, and there was a mother dog getting ready to deliver puppies, and our officer, bless his heart, he went by on the way to Medley. He spent his lunch looking for her, and then on the way back from Medley, and I was out there, and there, we had a whole army out there looking for this mother about to deliver. And as it turned out, she had just escaped from her family, and we were able. I didn't do much, but except frantically make phone calls. But they were able to reunite her with her owner, and she had, I think it was 10 puppies. So, so anyway, they were already foster families ready to go. But I would like, I know, Chief, you're probably going to have a heart attack, but I would really like to expand our services as much as possible. And if this would free up some time for the animals, it would be so wonderful. And I know one person can only do so much, and Crystal, bless your heart, she's always there when I call. Hey, I don't know what a dog, I need help. So, thank you, and Art, we're not really saying enough about you, because you've been helping this community for so many years. And I know when the Angels bought a service dog for an autistic young boy, it was amazing. The service dog came, what was it, Pennsylvania or something like that? And Art has taken care of the service dog for all these years and given him the care that he needs, and he's got a heart the size of a mountain. So,
thank you.
I mean it.
Thank you.
Mary, just one more question.
Sure.
Can you give us an update on where we're at with the other shelter that we've been, when you first came on board and getting support? Where are we on that?
Good evening. My name is Evelyn Martin. I'm vice president of the organization as well for JGAR. And our next big thing, and I'm glad you asked about that, because we are working on our very first fundraiser to start to show the city and the county that we as an organization can raise money, funds to start to help to build a shelter down here. It is absolutely appalling, the number of animals that are in this area and dropped every day. We have so many good citizens in this area that adopt, they foster, and it's just amazing what we do as a city for our animals. So our fundraiser is coming up, and we were asking the city if you could possibly think about being a community partner sponsorship with us. We have some really interesting guests that are coming, and I'm going to let Lissa take the mic on this because Lissa was able to get a very, very important person to come to our event to be there. So I'll let her tell you about that.
We've got Ron McGill from the Miami Zoo that's going to come and co-host a dog show. We've got the action-packed Purina-sponsored National Traveling Dog Show that's going to do a performance before lunch. And Capri is sponsoring the lunches there at the country club, the Keysgate Country Club. So the luncheon and show will be a draw on its own, and then we also have the golf tournament during the day. And we've got fabulous prizes and silent auction and all kinds of really good raffles and door prizes and all these, gift bags. So that's April 13th, and it's going to be a great show. Ron McGill will bring lots of publicity to it.
Yes, please, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Mr. Manager, as we move forward on this and come up with some kind of numbers, I know myself as a taxpayer pays for animal services in this county every year, as all of us do that pay taxes. And it goes 30-some miles up the road. So maybe we can reach out to animal services and ask them for some sort of monetary help down here, as we're going to be helping them in the long run if this comes to life, by keeping animals here and doing things. So maybe we need to make sure we include them, or at least reach out to them somehow and ask them. I know that their budgets are as tight as anybody's are in the county, but we have a tax base here of people that pay that don't use it because it's too far away, and that's why we have some of the problem that we have here today. So I would make sure that we try to reach out to them in any way that we can, and see if there's any way that they can help us with this project.
Sure. Any further questions from council? Okay, kudos, because you've worked hard. And I know I've made 2 trips to downtown Miami with you, and they weren't in vain. They hear us. Unfortunately, it was right after their budget cycle. I think if we stay with them, stay on them, and work together as a team, I think that we'll get our fair share cut out of their big budget. But again, I think that, Lissa, you know, both of you, that the number that they told us, the number they shared with us was very small. Very small when it comes to the tag fee. We talked about the tag fee. We called the mayor of Florida City. We asked the mayor of Florida City to be involved, and he said, yes, count me in. So we need to take a really hard look at the numbers that John's talking about now, because the numbers were very small for the tag fee. And what I found that a lot of people tag their dogs that get the proper shots, and they get a tag from their own veterinarian, but they do not get Dade County's tag. I don't know, Doc, is that something that you see? But as I kind of investigated, is they get their shots and they get a tag that says these rabies shot, this shot, but they do not register with Dade County for one reason or another.
I can't answer that directly, but I would say that any rabies vaccination is supposed to be, for a dog, supposed to be reported
Right.
to the county.
Right.
So a tag that a individual office is giving out is basically just to show that the dog has
rabies shots.
How valid is that, other than it says some information on it? So in essence, it really doesn't comply.
Well, I think that what I was alluding to was that there's more than the $39 fee. Some people just flat don't want more government, simple as that. And I've talked to some dog lovers and people, and I say, well, what's the deal, you know? Because I was really puzzled when we came back from that last meeting with the assistant county manager. And it was incredible, the numbers that they brought forward. And Lissa, you had done your work. You had how many, what the pickup count was in what area. She had a map with all these red dots on it, and I was impressed, man. When I got there, I didn't need to open my mouth besides introduce them, and they took off. But it's just amazing that the low number that they gave us. Do you remember what the number was? It was very low. It was like $20,000 or something.
animals brought into the temporary holding station are tagged and licensed and the owner can be found, the impound fees would go to the city, not the county.
Mm.
So that would help.
God bless those dog owners. Okay, any final, again, thank you so much. We're going to move forward. I think this whole meeting was informational. That's what it was about, to get the message out to all 7 of us at one time so that we can digest it transparently here and you know, have a conversation like we did, a dialogue. I think you're going to see some good results come out of it. I have faith in our manager, and I'm sure that he'll come up with some good results.
How do we arrange that meeting with the
Well,
city
I think that we look at least 30 days, and maybe the next council meeting, to come back with some kind of just update.
Give her my card,
Okay.
and as soon as they're ready to meet, we're ready for them.
So you call the manager and set a meeting date up, share that information that you have now, which is excellent information. I think he'll be impressed. You know, I have a little notebook, it's about that thick, and a lot of it came from you. So I think that you take the same preparation that you had for me, give to the manager, and let's move forward. Okay? Thank you very much. Okay. Okay, direction from council. Consent agenda.
Move it.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, first item here, quasi, questions and comments. Let's say public hearing. This is ordinance land use items.
Yes, please be advised the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff has made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-591, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda this evening. Hearing none, at this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on any of the following quasi-judicial items.
Please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, please state your name, hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, we're going to start with tab 3. It's card number 741, and the number is 201222, rezoning to light industrial district.
Mayor, if I might request, before you hear, we take tab 3 in consideration. Tab 13 is the corresponding legislative item, which is the small-scale future land use map amendment, which you should all hear first and make a decision on before hearing the rezoning.
Okay, card number 742, number 2012, small-scale future land use map amendment, tab 13.
Yes, this is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Camarillo Site 1, Inc. for a small-scale future land use map amendment to the comprehensive plan by changing the land use designation of 2 parcels totaling approximately 4.07 acres from light commercial use to industrial use for property located south of the Homestead extension of the Florida Turnpike, east of 162nd Avenue, and northwest of East Maury Drive, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Okay, so move it. Motion. Thank you. Second.
Second.
Staff report.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends that the mayor and council approve the proposed ordinance requesting the small-scale comprehensive land use map change. The applicant intends to construct a telecommunication tower and an office building on the undeveloped parcels upon the approval of this small-scale amendment. The property currently has a future land use designation of light commercial use and is zoned agricultural district. The applicant has concurrently filed an application to rezone the parcel, which is tab 3 that we'll hear in a moment, to the light industrial. Got it. Closer. Got it. To the light industrial district. To allow the communications tower, which is being processed under the separate application 2012-22. They have proffered a declaration of restrictive covenants to limit the list of permitted uses on this 4 acres to a B1 and B2, but we'll explain that in the rezoning. We recommend approval of this.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council? Hearing no questions, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public at this time? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and final questions from council. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tab 3 again, car number 741-201222, rezoning to a light industrial district.
Yes, this is tab 3, an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting the request of Camarillo Site 1 Inc. for rezoning for 2 parcels totaling approximately 4.07 acres from Agricultural District AU to Light Industrial District I1 for property located south of the Homestead extension of the Florida Turnpike, east of 162nd Avenue, and northwest of East Mallory Drive, is legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move it.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, staff.
After we've changed the land use, we need to change the zoning. We're attempting to change the zoning from agricultural district to the light commercial, to I-1. Essentially, the I-1 district is the only district that we allow telecommunications towers. Again, the applicant in the future wants to submit an application for a telecommunications tower and an office building. They've proffered a covenant that suggests that they would only use uses in the zoning districts of B1 and B2, with the only industrial use being the tower. We recommend approval.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Burgess.
Thank you. I noticed at the P&Z there was some opposition. I was just wondering, I see or a couple of guys, a fellow from the church and a guy from the neighborhood that came over and voiced some concerns. I was just wondering if the applicant was able to reach out to them and perhaps maybe take care of their concerns and reach out to the people that did show up at all and ease their concerns or take care of them.
Mayor Bateman, Council Steve Shiver, Camarillo Site 1. The gentleman that from the church across the street, we were able to talk to them that day, gave them our phone numbers if they had any additional questions, and they were pretty much alleviated, and obviously they're not here tonight. Second, the gentleman on the north side of the turnpike, in fact, we had purchased his property several years ago. One of my clients purchased a parcel of his to the north, on the north side of that, and his only comment was he wants to make sure he can preserve his land value to sell for high-density residential. So that's a market play, and I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure the church was okay. I mean, they've been there a long, long time.
Absolutely.
And they've always been good to the city and good neighbors over there and maintain their stuff well. So I just wanted to make sure that they were on board, or at least they were comfortable on where you guys were headed if this project comes through. And one other question, if I could. Number 104, so this long list of allowable uses, I believe, and number 104 is automobile service stations, and they could do tire repair, radiator cleaning and flushing, washing and polishing, and things like that. I'm not sure radiator flushing and things like that is a proper use over there. I was just wondering maybe if we can at least cut that one out.
If I may, in the original proffer that we made to the city, we actually cut out a lot of the uses that you're talking about. When it came back to us, it included that use. Also, self-storage facilities and things like that. I mean, obviously, we would like to keep it as liberal as possible, but we have no objection to not doing automobile repair. Now, service station is a convenience store, as an ancillary self-service pumps, that we may do. That's a
No,
very
and I
viable
understand.
project.
But there's a big difference between a self-service.
Absolutely.
Nice gas station that's there and some guy with radiator flushing and
Full
repairs
service.
and things like that, especially
Full service.
since there is some houses around there and all that, you know, that.
Well, Vice Mayor, we'd be happy in between the readings, before the second reading, to you know, take
Just
those
my
out.
thoughts. I don't know if anybody else cares.
We'll be
about
happy to
it.
take those out.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shelley.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I did have a couple concerns as well, so I think maybe between reading 1 and reading 2, maybe go back through and look at that list, because there were some other uses that were a little intensive, so maybe reevaluate that. But I did have a question for, my understanding of this rezoning is that it allows the one use in the industrial zoning, but it also will allow any of these other uses in B1 and B2, correct?
Yes.
Except for the ones that have been proffered out.
Except for the ones that will, hopefully he'll proffer in a limited number of uses and we'll allow those, but they'll be B1 and B2 uses. The only thing over B2 will be the I use, which is the tower.
Correct.
Should they gain.
But what we're doing tonight is essentially allowing rezoning for that I, which is the one use, but also all these ancillary uses on B1 and B2 would also be allowed under this rezoning, correct?
Correct.
And then, so I'm okay with that. I guess the purpose of the statement is, you know, I would like to reevaluate some of the items here because I think some of them may be a little too intense for this particular corridor, but I'm not sold on the idea of the actual tower. So I'm okay with the rezoning, but going forward, I'll need some more information.
They need to come back in.
Yeah, there's another additional process, correct?
Correct,
Tower.
for a tower. They need to do first a tower site plan, but first they need to apply under our telecommunications ordinance, which is a process where they need to submit a report. They've done a draft report of it already, but we're not at that point yet, where they'll get a radio frequency engineer to look to see if there's a gap in coverage. If there is a gap in coverage, there's a protocol that they need to follow, which suggests first choice is to locate your antenna on a city-owned facility, second choice a private facility, and if none of those exist, you would locate it on your own tower. So that's the process that we'll go through next.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to be clear that this is zoning only, and then the issue of the actual tower building itself is we'll have another chance to evaluate that going forward.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
If I may clarify, the tower building is not going to be, we propose a 5-story office building there, 5 to 6-story office building. It will be, some of that will be like the Regis, you know, so you have such a concentration of residential in that immediate proximity, a condo office or Regis type facility, it's a national chain. That's what we propose there. So it's not going to be like a tower, a building specifically for that tower. It's going to be an ancillary use for our Skynet 360, which we will be the first tenant on the tower as well.
Question,
So you'll have an outstanding facade to hang that tower on.
Sorry?
You'll have an excellent facade to hang that tower on.
Absolutely.
The building will be the facade, yeah.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
And you know, Mr. Bateman, you say that, and it's true, because the old tower ordinance, which I believe I was instrumental in working with Mr. Weiss, your city attorney, in adopting this years ago, you need to really start looking at your technology. It has evolved quite a bit. The tower ordinance that you have now provides for a certain height, provides for a certain proximity using city-owned site. As we become more technologically advanced, let's say, in the smartphones, which are smarter than me for sure, that requires more bandwidth. So what you're seeing now is the larger carriers are coming out now infilling shorter towers, but they're infilling the vacant areas or the blind spots that they call it. So we do have a radio frequency analysis. I don't know if it was in your packet yet, but it's done by an engineer, and I think you'll be okay when we come back to you at second reading.
Okay, any further questions? Yes,
Mayor,
Mr. Maldonado?
I do want to agree with you, and actually I was reading earlier that the FCC is actually working in regards to ease congestion of the wireless. You know, it's a big issue. Obviously, my background being IT, I read these geeky stuff. And so I actually would like to do pretty soon is bring a committee, that technology committee, in order to help facilitate some of those questions and concerns and look at some of our telecommunication and data and technology ordinances and what we have in place to kind of revise it and make sure that we're upgrading it and we're with the times. One question I'd like to ask is the zoning for the existing antenna that's close by. What is that? Is that the same zoning?
Yeah, the zoning for the towers has to be in the industrial district.
Yeah, but that's on a city site.
We only allow the towers in the I industrial districts.
But Councilman Maldonado, if
Through the mayor.
memory serves me well, the south tower that you're speaking of is actually on the substation. It's on city land. It was a lease that was done years ago with the carrier. And I don't know who, it started out with a cell on wheel, a cow, and then it evolved into what you see there today. But that tower, the top 4 spots on that tower are taken by the larger carriers. And we need to have, for the product that we offer locally, by the way, and our founder is a product of Southgate. I'm a product of Southgate. So the service that we offer, we're going to require a little more height. So that tower there to the south would not accommodate Skynet 360.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions from council? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public on this item? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Warman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, tab 4 is car number 736-201-257, variance from City Code Section 23-104A.
This is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the request by 7-Eleven, Inc. for a variance from Section 23104A, conforming in certain instances of the City Code of Ordinances to modify internal lighting on a legal non-conforming pole sign on property located at 792 Homestead Boulevard, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Entertain a motion.
Move it.
Thank you. Second. Okay, thank you, sir. Staff?
I'm going to take a little time here and try to put this issue into context because I'll be fast, because it includes tabs 4, 5, 6, and 7. They're all related. What we have here is tab 4, which we're talking about, which is a variance for a non-conforming pole sign. Tab 5, item number 2, is for a wall sign on the east side of their building. Tab 6 is for a wall sign on the south side of the building. The issue is that these signs, they need a variance for them because they have the pole sign. The pole sign is the issue. So the code says that no conforming sign, being these wall signs on tabs 5 and 6, can be erected on a property when an existing non-conforming sign, the pole sign, already exists on the property. They can't be put up until that original non-conforming sign, the pole sign, comes down or is made in conformance. So if the pole sign is made to conform with the code, being a monument sign, then those signs can go up, except for the sign on the south side, because the sign on the south side of the building is not permitted to be parallel to an existing sign that is a standing sign, either the pole sign or the monument sign. So now you'll have, if they modify, the pole sign is there, or they modify it to a monument sign, you have 2 parallel signs, which the code does not allow. So the major issue here is the non-conforming pole sign, which creates the necessity for the 3 other variances. Again, we're recommending denial of this variance request, actually all the variance requests. But the code provides that the variances are discouraged, but can be granted by the council if the applicant meets the standards in section 30-42 of the code. So we've analyzed all the variances here and have determined that according to the code, we don't see special circumstances that exist that prevent a reasonable use of this property with the variance. The hardship that they claim is not, in our opinion, particular to the property. The literal interpretation of this code does not deprive the applicant of any of the property rights that anybody else in the district would have. The claimed hardship is one that's self-created, and it's not the minimum variance possible. So with that, again, I'm going to recommend denial for each of these, starting with tab 4.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Williams, yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
I knew I was coming to this meeting tonight, and somehow I just thought, in reading, that before it came up that it was going to be recommended denial. Ever since this applicant has come forth and we've made the, you know, the changes that, the loops that I think we had to jump through before, before you recommended this to us, and this is maybe to the applicant, did you all have conversation back and forth about that he was going to be recommending denial for this?
Yes, Council. We knew in processing the application and meeting with staff that their interpretation of the requirements that were needed under the code, under your 8 various requirements for the variances, they didn't feel that we met those requirements. We did submit the letter of intent. We did a supplemental letter of intent, which I think is in your package, which addressed each of those 8 specifically. Of course, on behalf of the applicant, let me put for the record, Jeffrey Flanagan, offices at 1450 Madruga Avenue, Coral Gables. We do believe that the circumstances and the location of the property are in fact unique and do provide the hardship, and I'm happy to go into those in further detail if you or any other.
Right, well that's what I'm saying. I think, you know, ever since, you know, the applicant has come forth and the other time, you know, their you know, applicant, they recommended denial for what they were trying to do, and then now that we come to these signs, you know, it's just an there's an, you know, recommended denial for these variants, and I don't know what else that perhaps that we need to do other than is there anything else that perhaps in what they're asking that you all can do other than to conform to what they're asking you all to do?
So as Mr. Corradino said, I'll start with the signs on the building. They are conforming. They are allowed under the code, except not right now because of the existence of the pole sign.
Right.
And whether there's a pole sign or a monument sign, so let's call that the street sign.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the street sign is out there, the signage on the south side of this building would still require a variance because it's parallel with the street sign.
Correct.
Although the code does allow you to have a sign on the building on each side when you have double frontage, which this of course has. So the way to do it would be to remove the pole sign and create a monument sign. But the pole sign is there, it's legal, non-conforming, and that was actually part of the site plan that was approved. I mean, the site plan was last month, and a couple of the variances were 2 months ago. So that, the sign, its existence, its placement, has been reviewed and has actually now been approved by the council. And so the only way to get rid of what would be 2 of the variances, I think, 2 of them, would be to bring it to a monument sign. One of these variances I submit to you, the variance for the changing of the lighting in the pole sign from fluorescent to LED. In my mind, that's not much different than changing the light bulb. We could go in today. I think you all know the property well enough. If you want, I do have some recent pictures. You will note on the pole sign that the frontage, the panels have been replaced, which you're allowed to do. You're allowed to replace the lights. So if there was a burnt out fluorescent light, we could go change it. We could flip the switch, and it could be lit up at night. Because 7-Eleven wants to be more efficient and environmentally friendly by switching to the LED lighting, it's a function of the code and what's written in your code that says, actually, you can't change the technology unless you get a variance.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have for right now, Mayor.
Mayor.
Mr. Shelley. I'm sorry, you were calling. It was already approved.
Is that better? There we
Correct.
go. I got to work it now.
If you convert the pole in the monument into a monument, the only thing you'll need to do is give variance in tab number 7, which
the south
puts
side,
the
double
parallel
south side
sign, one on the
facing.
wall and one on the street.
Okay. And I know that we dealt with the same issue when Blake Chevrolet came before us, and they had a very similar sign. And essentially, all that was required was them to put metal around the two, because this time I went by and looked, there's two poles.
Right.
The same type of
Box it in.
situation, correct? Where they could wrap that and make it a metal facade so it looks like a monument sign?
The monument sign needs to be, well, the code says it needs to be 12 feet high as in a maximum
Right.
and 80 square feet. So that would be something you all had to grant if it's higher than that. If it's
Okay.
higher than 12 feet.
But I'm saying, as far as, I guess the height and stuff we could deal with is a different issue, but as far as actually converting that existing pole sign by doing some fabrication to make it appear like a monument sign, just like Blake Chevrolet, if it's attractive looking, would solve the issue, correct?
It technically would solve the issue. I think the concept of the monument sign was to have lower, more eye-level signage. And so,
But in this case, okay, I guess I'm just asking the same question, that is, that would solve the problem as far as that. Now, there's a second issue that would arise then, which deals with height and whether or not it exceeds the height variance issue, which we again also granted to Blake Chevrolet on the similar corridor. So I've driven by the site, I have no issues. Because of the palm trees that they have to decorate the area, it makes sense to have their sign on that particular US 1 corridor be a little bit higher. But I do think that it should be a monument-style sign in order to be fair to all people who've applied on that corridor, and I don't think it would be too difficult to do. So I do encourage, or I wouldn't support the variance for the pole sign. I would want that converted to a monument sign, but I think it could be done just like Blake Chevrolet did, fairly cheaply and easily, and not have to, completely destroy it and rebuild it.
Councilman Shelley, if I may, and that may be true, but I think what you're doing at that point is creating much greater mass and the appearance of a much greater mass by enclosing the pylons. At this point, you do have the two pylons, and you have open space in between the two of them, so it's a much cleaner aesthetic view. You can see through the palm trees, you can see the other landscape.
I hear you. I disagree with you, but I hear you, because I think that the Blake Chevrolet sign looks pretty good the way they did it. I think it looks okay. So in my sense, my position is pretty strong. You're not going to convince me over poles versus non-poles. It's going to be, for me, it's either converted into a monument sign or I'm going to vote against it. That's kind of what I'm proposing, but I just think there's a solution there that solves the problem, eliminates the need to go through these other variances, and then I don't have an issue either with the double facing south, because I did drive by it because of this particular site. It looks a little odd without there being a sign on the side of the roof there, so I could go for that variance as well, but the pole sign is the one that I can't.
And I would just submit that the pole sign, its existence and everything was part of the site plan from last month also.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I too would, well, first of all, I say shame on me, but this property has been nothing but variances since it came to us. So if that pole was on there, shame on me for not catching it that night. But that was a very confusing and very long, drawn-out evening, so I voted yes, so that's a shame on me. But I will not go for a pole sign. We made the Chevrolet, Homestead Chevrolet, jump through hoops. There's a sign, there's a reason that we went to monuments that was described to me way back. Was one, they're more friendly in a hurricane environment. They're not dangerous flying around and going around. Secondly, going back to the night that the variances were given in the past, the gentleman came to my office and promised me that would be a beautiful sight as people entered Homestead. Seeing a 24-foot 7-Eleven sign is not a beautiful sight to me. So I will not be supporting any of it tonight if the pole sign stays up. Thank you.
Ms. Wall.
Hi. Question. Is this mandatory by 7-Eleven that you have the sign that you're requesting?
There is, and I don't have the lease with me, but there is language in the lease regarding the existing pole sign and the placement also of the building signage.
But isn't there language also that you are to conform to cities where your structures are going to be?
I don't have the lease in front of me, so I don't know, and I wasn't involved with the lease. I think that was done at this point probably 2+ years ago between the property owner and 7-Eleven.
How high are your sign? Is the sign now? How high is the pole?
The pole, it goes up, I think it's 24 feet high.
And what's our limit, Joe?
12 feet. There are instances in Miami-Dade County where 7-Eleven does have urban locations on Miami Beach and Miami with signage that conforms to their codes that are monument-type signs. I don't have pictures of it right now, but I know they exist.
And this sign, wasn't that an existing pole?
Yes.
Yeah, Councilman Waldman, it's an existing pole sign. That's why it's legal non-conforming, because it was there and existing prior to the change in the code. And the building used to have signage on it also. So when there was a previous tenant, and this reestablishes some of that signage.
Just so you know, I think we've all, I mean, I know I've tried really hard to, I welcome you to our community. You know, I'm very excited that you're coming to our community. I'll be one of your customers because I live down the road there. But I know that the hands are tied of our developmental services because they have to go by what's on the books. And I know people see things that, where they're grandfathered in, and I think the answer to all of this is that that we do need some code changes. You know, we do need to change some of our codes. But I agree with the monument sign, because I remember sitting beside of Mayor Bateman at the time, and we were so worried, you know, with this Blake Chevrolet, and I drew a little picture, and I looked over, and he had drawn the same little picture, and we took it down to Joe, and he said, yes, that would be a monument sign. And it was fairly inexpensive. It was just, how high was that?
20. I don't recall, but it was the same height that they had, I think, originally.
No, I mean, how high did they have to come up with the, to fill in the bottom? Do you remember?
I don't recall the exact specification.
About 10 feet.
About 10 feet? So would that be a hardship? I mean, I have no problem with the signs of the south sign on the building. I have no problem with any of that. You know, we want you here, and we want to be friendly, but we have to be fair to everybody.
No, sure, I understand that, and if I go back the last couple of meetings, my apologies if any part of my presentation created confusion, but I thought there was significant discussion about the existence of the pole sign and the fact that it was legal non-conforming. We had the US 1 corridor, we had billboards in the area both to the south and to the north, and so that was part of the overall site plan application. What's before you tonight is on behalf of the tenant 7-Eleven to put the signage on the building and to use and to change the technology in the pole sign, which again is the legal non-conforming. So with that having been approved, you know, again, I also submit that it is a hardship to cut it down. That has received the essential blessing of this council to remain with the legal non-conforming pole sign, and so now it's a function of changing the lighting technology.
Let me ask, and I have no problem with that light. I mean, I have no problem with that. But let me ask a question, Mr. Cordino. let me ask a question. Let's say that the pole stayed, what did you say, 18 feet?
I believe it's 24.
Oh, 24 feet, okay.
Well, that's what Chevrolet was.
Yeah. How high up would they have to go to justify a monument sign to fill in from ground up?
Well, the monument sign needs to be a solid mass, so they would have to fill it up all the way.
All the way up?
Yes.
But we could have a variance on that.
Sure.
If they made an effort to come up to whatever it was Blake Chevrolet came up to, 10 feet, I think the mayor said, correct?
You could, yes.
I don't know what that would look like. I mean, I'm certainly not going to say I'm going to agree with that right now, but you know, how hard would it be for you to have a crane come in there and just pop off the top of those poles too and meet us a little bit?
Well,
I didn't ride by there today, so,
If
but
I
I
would-
ride by there most every other day.
I'll pass out, they're just 4 photographs. I'll hand them to the clerk to pass down.
So we may move this along and not labor too long. Look, you've got my support tonight. I concur with Councilman Shelley, with Councilman Williams. So far, what I've heard is, look, make it a monument sign, and I don't mean it 12 feet, I mean it 24 feet, just like we did for the Chevrolet dealership. He didn't cut 1 inch off. You're gonna have to box it in. It does look good, does make aesthetics or everything to me, and you got my vote, simple as that. So if that tells you anything, and so we don't belabor it, I think we're moving forward. If
I
we
hear
just
you,
get
Mayor.
on with it, I think you got what you want.
I hear you.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah,
Williams.
I'm in agreement. Don't let this be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Fill in the sign
Yeah,
and let's
let's
move
just
forward.
move on.
Don't, because if they're willing to let go of the other, you know, issues, then
That'd be
then
beautiful.
if it's just filling in the sign, to make it a monument, Don't let that be a deal breaker.
Understood.
And no height restriction on what you have now, whatever it is.
Thank you.
You dang sure can't extend it, but.
Majority rules.
That's it, we're done.
So have we dealt with the lighting issue that they're requesting?
Yes, and what was my proposal, was to leave it the same height, no different than we did Chevrolet dealership, box it in all the way to the ground, make it a monument sign, make it look good, which it will, because I'm telling you, the Chevrolet sign looks outstanding, and move forward.
Mayor, I'm sorry, if I might, because just so that we're not, to see you all going down the path of what you would like, and not sure if the applicants are going to agree, but if the applicant chooses to go down the path of boxing in a monument and making a monument sign, then that's going to require an amended application, sign application, and then that's going to change the nature of this variance. So it would be a height variance for a monument sign.
But the reason we're allowing that is because he was existing, no different than the Chevrolet dealership. Had he put it up now 24 feet, I would say no, but it was existing. So we're asking him to come 50% our way and make it a monument-looking sign, whether it's 24 feet or not. 12 feet doesn't, I didn't vote, I didn't make 12 feet the monument sign.
No,
I don't know who came up with Joe's terminology earlier when he said, I really think monument signs came into play because of the height. I disagree. That's my opinion, okay? So that's my vote's that way. I think if you concur with that, I say we call the vote. If it's a second, if he has to go through something else, he has to go through something else.
Mr. Mayor, may I, and maybe
Yes.
it's a question to the city attorney that I don't think I'm entitled to ask, but I believe you can put a condition on the approval, which would then negate necessity to come back. It's your approval is conditioned upon boxing it in.
I think what James is saying is that if you want to go in that direction, then it's a different variance that he's applying for. So you can't apply for one variance, which is the pole sign, and get another variance.
Why, we did it with Chevrolet, and we did it in one meeting.
I'm not sure of the
Boom.
procedure that we did
We
that
did
night,
it in one meeting with Chevrolet,
but-
right there standing in front of us.
but we could look back at it. I don't know, but
Oh, it hasn't been properly noticed, it hasn't been properly advertised, it hasn't been, that particular variance hasn't gone through the LPA. It's not properly before you all for that decision this evening.
And welcome to Homestead.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. What's the variance? Your condition of approval is you're approving it. I'm making the assumption, I'm not counting the chickens before the eggs have hatched. But if you approve it, you approved it conditioned on boxing in the supports of that pole sign.
Legal non-conforming use sign.
Right, and you say box it in so it looks, it's not a monument sign, it's not technically a monument sign, it looks like a monument sign.
It's a 24-foot monument sign.
So I think we're still there, just with a condition of approval.
I think what we said, which is that I'm sorry, but we view it as, James, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but you applied for a variance for a pole sign. That's what's been advertised, that's been, what's gone through our process. You're now, what the council is saying is that we're going to deny your request for a pole sign, but if you came before us with a variance for a height variance for a monument sign, we'd be interested in granting it. I think that's what the council is saying. And in order to do that, you got to go through a different process. Is that what you're saying, Jim?
Right, and I don't think you have any of the plans that go along with a monument sign as well.
And I'm sorry, I think I'm hearing approve the pole sign, but box it in so it looks different.
Look, I'm confused at this point.
Listen, Mayor, with this pole sign, most of us have said that we're not going to approve it as a pole sign, but we're saying that conditionally, or because he came in, the applicant, as a pole sign, now that we're asking them to box it in to make it a monument, then that requires augmenting the application. Is that what I'm understanding?
It's exactly what has to happen is where I think the council's trying to, your council's trying to accommodate him, and what we're trying to do is explain the procedure for accommodating. You're exactly right. He needs to file an application for a height variance for a monument sign. That's what he needs to do. I mean,
and what I guess what the applicant is saying is that we're still talking about the same sign, and that if we conditionally approved it, that it becomes a monument by filling it in, would that accomplish the same thing? But my understanding is that that will create a height variance, not what it is as an application that has been advertised for at this moment.
Correct.
So then, Richard, as a technical point, what do we need to do?
What you need to do is you need to deny this variance within, you've already expressed your opinion that you want to try to accommodate him. You know, staff will try to work as quickly as possible to process a different application, get it back in front of you as quickly as possible, and that's what you need to do.
So would denial be what is needed, or can we defer it?
Well, there's no reason to defer because the application that he's made, James, please correct me if I'm saying anything that you disagree with. The application he's made is for a pole sign, and you're denying the variance for the pole sign. He's got to come through with the application for a height variance on the...
Okay. Well, I'll yield to my colleague, Mr. Shelley.
I just had a question. I mean, can't we defer this and then he can modify the application so that the item that comes before us,
what I say,
versus having to deny this one and then have him reapply? Can't he just apply to modify what his variance request is?
The variance that was submitted, the application, the variance that was submitted, the variance that was heard by the LPA, and the variance that was advertised to come before you all is a variance to modify the internal lighting to this pole sign.
Correct. And what I'm asking,
a couple of issues. One is that the sign is a legal non-conforming pole sign, and with non-conforming signs, anytime you make any change to it whatsoever, you need to basically come in for a variance. That's why this first item is before you, because of the internal lighting mechanisms. Secondly, you only allow for pole signs to be 12 feet high. I mean, monument signs to be 12 feet high. So if you want a monument sign above 12 feet, then that variance would need to be analyzed, reviewed by your staff, go to LPA, and then come before you. This application could be modified to include changes to the non-conforming pole sign, to include internal modifications or lighting or technology, and the height.
Right.
But it would require us to have to go back and advertise that.
Yeah, correct. No, it couldn't be done tonight. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, rather than deny this application tonight, we could defer it and then administratively deal with all that issues, come back through the process under that same application with a different variance is what I'm requesting, rather than having to deny him, have him to start the whole process over, reapply, I mean, there's fees and stuff that are involved with that as well that becomes problematic. So what I'm asking is, I know we can't make the decision tonight, but can we defer this? Then administratively, you guys discuss the changes and the variances, go through the process to get before us, either by the next council meeting or as soon as possible, and then make the decision is what I'm trying to determine. Is that a possibility or not?
It could be done. It would just have to be re-advertised. It would probably it would require going to the LPA, and then it would require being re-advertised and coming back before you.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I don't know what my colleagues are, but my problem was I didn't want to deny this and have them have to put a new application in with new application fees and all that. I want them to, I want to try to accommodate them and work with them, but also get a good product. So that was my question.
Okay, further questions?
Yes. Wait a minute, just quick. Is there a cost associated with the re-advertising, and if so, how much is it?
The cost if we is a couple of $100.
Okay. Doesn't seem too bad. I was just trying to think of how that would impact you financially to have to go that route. But if it's a couple $100s, then perhaps it may be worth the investment.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr.
I move that we defer the item, let the change takes place administratively, and then bring it back without trying to have any more additional cost to the applicant, that we work in the parameters in which we're trying to accomplish tonight.
Motion. Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Discussion? Discussion? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman? Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so that takes care of 4, 5, 6.
Well, I was trying to ask, that was on item 4, correct? Just the pole sign? Because what I was going to ask, and I was trying to make sure that that was just on item 4, if there's no fundamental issue with the building signage. Right now, 7-Eleven has no building signage. There is a temporary sign, which is effectively a banner sitting at above the front entrance. It's not illuminated, so obviously you don't see it at night. The pole sign's not lit up at night. There's nothing on the south side of the building. So seeing that we are resolving concerns and hoping we'll come to an agreement in the next month or two on the pole sign, I would ask that the council please, on behalf of 7-Eleven, so they can install their standard brand identity. I was at the store after the last Planning and Zoning Board hearing, and the store manager had put out by the sidewalk one of those, the little A-frame signs, which of course code enforcement came around and said you can't
It's
do that,
illegal.
so he took it in. He didn't know that, but he was making an effort. Without even asking, he was talking to us and saying, please get me my signage because my sales went up significantly when I had that sign out on the street so people could see us. He had said, you really can't see the sign on the street somewhat because of the trees. And so with very little building signage, I ask that the council please consider approving what would be, I think it's tab 5, 6, and 7, the 3 variances for the building signage, so that 7-Eleven can get rid of that banner sign, which at some point is going to start looking a little decayed and frayed,
And be
they can
illegal.
install the true signage on the building so that people can find them.
Can we take 5, 6, and 7 together?
They're quasi-judicial items. I can read the title for each. You
read
can discuss them, but you need to take a vote on each one separately.
Go ahead. Does that sound good? Okay, shoot. Rock and roll, let's go.
Okay.
Don't look at Richard, look at us. Serious.
I'm sorry?
I said, don't look at Richard, look at us. 5 of us are nodding our heads. That's all.
Tab 5 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the request by 7-Eleven Inc. for a variance from Section 23105, conforming non-conforming signs, prohibited on single business localities of the City Code of Ordinances to allow for the replacement of building signage on the east front facade of an existing building where a legal non-conforming sign also exists on property located at 792 Homestead Boulevard, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. Tab 6 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the request by 7-Eleven Inc. for a variance from Section 23105, non-conforming signs prohibited on the single business localities of the City Code of Ordinances to allow for the replacement of building signage on the south side facade of an existing building where a legal non-conforming sign also exists on property located at 792 Homestead Boulevard as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for an effective date. Tab 7 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the request by 7-Eleven Inc. for a variance from Section 2380A, all other zoning districts of the City Code of Ordinances, to permit a sign to be erected parallel to an existing pole sign located on the south side facade of an existing building located at 792 Homestead Boulevard, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Okay, we have all 3 before us. We know staff's point on it. Motion. Questions from council?
I just have a question, just in layman's term quickly, what are we voting on? We're voting on the east sign on the I guess the roof area, the south sign on the roof area, and then what else are we voting on?
And then the ability to have the south sign at the same time you would have a parallel sign on the street, whether it be whatever the first sign turns into.
So two of these deal with the south sign?
Yes, sir.
One deals with the east sign?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's, I just wanted to verify. Thank you.
Okay, further questions?
Yeah, Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Wentz.
but
Yes,
they're
sir.
recommending denial for this, so what are we voting on?
Well, you can make that motion if everybody's through discussion.
Right, but I know, but since we have entertained it, we've entertained it as a denial. So, what do we need to rephrase it so?
You deferred the pole sign item.
Right.
Now you're voting on the three other variances on these items.
But if I ask staff what the recommendation is, then we have just made a motion to hear it, it's denial.
Yeah, so you need to,
Make the motion.
if you are, want to do something other than staff, need to move approval.
Make a motion.
If that's what your question is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So, Mayor, with that, I recommend approval of item
5,
6, and 7.
I'll second, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, any final questions? Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Councilwoman Wallman? Yes. Councilman Burgess?
No.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you all. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, sir. Okay, 8 and 9 were gone from, so we are looking at tab 10. Car number 719, fiscal year 2013 budget amendment of $8,321,624. I read that right?
8 million, yes.
8 million, yeah, 321,624. Providing for a repeal.
Move it.
Got a motion to move it?
I just need to read the whole title.
ahead.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the budgets for several funds and departments for the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2012, ending September 30th, 2013, by increasing the total budget revenues and expenditures by $8,321,624, providing for a repeal or severability and effective date. It's a second reading and public hearing.
Okay, any motion to move it on? Move it? Second? Thank you. Staff?
Mayor, this is a second reading. The purpose of this amendment is to roll the amounts encumbered primarily for ongoing capital projects at fiscal year end 2012 into the current fiscal year's budget.
Okay, questions from council? Hearing
I'm
none.
sorry, George, what did you say? You said capital improvement. What did you say? What was the last?
Carlos, you want to?
Mayor and Council, yes, this is primarily to roll over purchase orders that were encumbered at the end of fiscal year 2012. It's rolling them over into the current year and appropriating
Oh, you
those
say
funds.
purchase orders. Okay, okay. I thought I heard you say capital improvements.
It's for primarily
Okay.
for capital projects.
Okay.
Purchase orders encumbrances for primarily capital projects.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr.
I just
Shelley.
want to say that's the best Carlos has ever sounded at any council meeting we've ever been to. That's all. Sorry, go ahead, Matt.
That's something to do with the mic.
I can't hear anybody else but the mic can hear Carlos.
He's got the right voice for that.
Take that new mic with you to the new city hall.
Okay. We've got, now I'll open the public hearing. Public has any comment on this item? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman? Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, card number 730, additional property tax exemption for certain qualifying seniors. This is a no-brainer. Tab 11.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code by amending Article 4, Homestead Exemption for Senior Citizens of Chapter 26, Taxes, to revise the title of the section and article, and to provide for an additional homestead exemption for low-income seniors, updating provisions, providing for severability, inclusion of the code for delivery to the property appraiser, and an effective date. Second reading and a public hearing.
I'll entertain a motion to move for approval.
Move it.
Okay, second?
Second.
Thank you. Staff?
Mayor, on November 6, 2012, voters approved Amendment 11 of the Florida Constitution providing an additional homestead exemption for low-income seniors that totally exempts the taxing authority's portion of taxable value. The eligibility requirements for this new additional senior exemption are the same as the current senior exemption. However, the qualifying senior must also have maintained their home as their permanent residence for at least 25 years and a market value less than $250,000. The new exemption can only be applied to a county or a municipality taxing authority once an ordinance is adopted by a supermajority, majority plus one of the council. The approved ordinance must be delivered to the Miami-Dade County Property Appraiser's Office no later than March 1st, 2013, to be applicable for the 2013 tax roll. The worst-case scenario impact for the City of Homestead is estimated as a tax revenue loss of $740 for fiscal year 2014. Staff recommends Mayor and Council approve the attached ordinance on first reading. Ordinance approves the additional property tax exemption for certain qualifying seniors pursuant to Constitutional Amendment 11.
Thank you, sir. Questions from council?
Only just one question. How
Please,
how are our senior citizens, those that don't know this, how are they getting that information now?
I think it's Mr. Manager or somebody. How they get the information.
If they already qualify for the initial exemption, this is basically going to be automatic. They'll be receiving this one as well. As long as they apply, they can prove that they're own the property for 25 years. The county actually already knows from the records who's owned it. So there's basically 7 properties in the City of Homestead that qualify for this.
Thank you, sir.
But nobody, I mean, the county nor the city reaches out and notifies them, right?
Honestly, I don't have an answer for that. I apologize.
You're on TV right now. A lot of seniors are watching you. So,
We could also send out a notice if you'd like to send. We can.
Thank you. That's
No
what
problem.
I was looking for. Notify the seniors who qualify if it's not that many.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any questions from council? Okay, hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, reading tab 12, card 740, 201252, compliance with the appeal of 2000.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 6, Building and Building Regulations regarding certificates of occupancy for place of public assembly, amending Chapter 30, Zoning, Article 1, General, in order to provide for amendments to definitions, amending Article 3, District Regulations to amend zoning district regulations of places of worship and places of public assembly, and amending Article 4, Supplemental District Regulations to amend parking standards for places of public assembly and use with similar parking demands, provide for severability, inclusion in the code, conflicts, and an effective date. This is the first reading.
I'll entertain a motion for approval. Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, staff.
Sir, we recommend the Mayor and Council approve this ordinance to provide these amendments to the city's land development code. The Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act of 2000 is designed to protect individuals, houses of worship, and other religious institutions from discrimination in zoning laws. In passing this law, the United States Congress found that the right to assemble and worship is at the very core of the free exercise of religion, and also recognized that religious assemblies can't function without a physical space adequate to their needs and consistent with their theological requirements. The attached proposed ordinance is intended to provide certain amendments to the city's land development and zoning regulations in compliance with this. The ordinance includes standardized treatment of public place of assembly, eliminates regulations for storefront churches, religious institutions, standardizes and clarifies parking standards for places of public assembly, and amend the certificate of occupancy procedure. Again, we recommend approval.
Okay, questions from council? Okay, hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public?
I'm sorry, Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. In reading this, I saw this. Does this include storefront also?
It just calls everything really places of worship and doesn't, it eliminates the the language that says storefront.
So
It no longer singles out storefront churches. It treats everybody the same.
whether for
Whether
public
they're
house
storefront or standalone building.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any further questions from council? At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me, so they're changing the language of house of worship. You striking that out to put place of public assembly. Is that?
Yes, sir.
So, help me with that, with the modification of the language.
It just doesn't differentiate between what we're now calling places of public assembly. So it doesn't differentiate between a church or a synagogue or a storefront church or an Elks Club or a Kiwanis Club or anybody like that. All those guys are places of public assembly, and there's no difference between them.
Okay. Thanks.
Any further questions from council?
Just another brief explanation, which I think may, because I see you still shaking your head a little bit. There's federal law basically has come out and basically required that these places of public assembly be treated all the same, notwithstanding what happens inside, so that an Elks Club where people get together is treated the same as a church, as a fraternity, some sort of fraternity. So that's why our code is being amended in order to comply with the federal law. And a lot of communities have gotten sued over this, where they've applied regulations dealing with a place of public assembly, and they've discriminated against one of these things, and we've handled tons of litigation over it. And so we're revising these ordinances to make sure that we're in compliance with the federal law. That's why this is being done.
Are you good with that, Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any final questions from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Maldonado. Councilwoman Wallman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, we've done tab 13, tab 14. Car 747, number 201252, code amendment to chapter 6, fence, and chapter 30, fence restrictions.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 6 in building regulations, Article 4, fences, Division 1 generally, Section 6197, fence construction standards, amending Chapter 30 zoning, Article 4, supplemental district regulations, Division 1 generally, Section 3408, fences or walls, and further amending Division 5 fence restrictions to provide for clarification and consistency of fencing standards and regulations, providing for severability, inclusion in the code, conflicts, and effective date. This is the first reading.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Thank you. Second. Thank you, staff.
Yes, sir. We recommend that the council approve the proposed ordinance requesting the city amend the fence code. These proposed amendments are going to provide consistency where conflicting fence regulations were found in Chapter 6 and Chapter 30 of our city code, where the permitted landscaping hedge height noted in Chapter 6 shall be consistent with the regulations set forth in Chapter 30, and the proposed code amendment will further clarify duplicated or conflicting fence regulations or restrictions set forth in 3408 and 30 in zoning. These inconsistencies evidently are just the result of prior code amendments that just conflicted with one another. The code was never looked at comprehensively. It's one of the cleanup items that we're trying to look at every so often and look at easy things that conflict that we can fix. So again, we recommend approval.
Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Now, with this, with the issue that Dade Medical College had with the fence piece, does that address any of that, what we're bringing up now?
No, because that section of the code didn't conflict with any other section. We're just looking at sections that say side height should be 4 feet. In another place it says side height should be 5 feet. In another place it says side height should be 6 feet. So in their instance, it's very clear in the B1 and B2 districts, front sign height, fence height in the front setback shall be 4. It doesn't conflict with anybody else.
Okay.
Again, you're free to change it, I would imagine, but we're cleaning up conflicts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any further questions from council? Yes, Ms. Ballmer.
Mr. Maldonado says that I'm using my southern voice and I'm not speaking loud enough because nobody hears me. No, I basically just was saying thank you because this is just a cleanup measure, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this
You're
is
welcome.
good. This is what I want to see more of.
We're trying to bring one a month up, so we've got a list of them in the office, and we're trying to process every month. We're trying to move a new one through the process.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. No further questions from council. I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Woolman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, Car 732, waiver of utility deposits for military personnel. Thank you very much. Motion to move on. Thank you. Second.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the city code by amending Chapter 28 Utilities, by amending Article 6 Deposits, Section 28201, Water and Sewer Deposits, amending Article 8 Electricity, 28255 Electric Deposits, providing severability, inclusion of the code, and an effective date.
Okay.
Move it.
Thank you. Second. Second.
Yes, second.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Staff report.
Mayor, as promised at the last council meeting, this ordinance will amend Section 28-201 Water and Sewer Deposits and Section 28-255 Electric Deposits to allow for waiver of utility deposit requirements for active duty or reserve military personnel who enroll in the program. The additions to the city code will allow the Customer Service Department to enroll active duty or reserve military personnel in double notification program and waive utility deposit requirements on new accounts.
I'm going to start off. I usually go last. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Richard, I know you worked on this. Thank you very much. Mr. Manager, thank you. I think it's well needed and well deserved. Mr. Shelley.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. No, I just wanted to report back. I had a meeting, because this was raised at the last council meeting by Sergeant Major Sylvia, and so I did meet with him and Mr. Vega. Mr. Vega had already been working on a ordinance dealing with this issue. We sat down, we discussed it. He was given a copy, Sergeant Major Sylvia was, and he looked it over and was satisfied. It addressed all his concerns. And then I'll give an updated report on TAP 17 related to that issue afterwards.
Okay, final questions? Okay, at this time I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Woolman?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Car number 729, waiver of fees for the use of Homestead Community Center Banquet Hall.
Move it.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Staff.
Mayor, the Homestead South Dade Kiwanis Foundation would like to host a reverse raffle at the Homestead Community Center Banquet Hall to award a grand prize of $10,000 to the holder of the last ticket drawn. The foundation is requesting the mayor and council authorize the city manager to approve a waiver of usage fees in the amount of $500 for the use of the Homestead Community Center Banquet Hall on March 9, 2013, from 6:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. to host a reverse raffle. According to City's Code, Chapter 20, Section 20-11, fees and charges, City Council sets fees and has the right to waive park and recreation fees by a majority vote.
Questions from council? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Faircloth McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley? Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Woolman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Card number 751, support HOA application time limit legislation.
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, expressing support for the enactment of legislation by the Florida Legislature that would require newly formed homeowner associations to process rental applications of military personnel within 7 days of submittal, providing for an effective date.
30 days now. Motion, entertain a motion for approval. Thank you. Second. Okay. Staff?
Mayor, this came from Councilman Shelley, so Councilman, did you want?
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is a follow-up to that meeting. At the last council meeting, Sergeant Major Sylvia also raised the issue of the military, active duty military, and the issues they were facing with the homeowners associations here locally, specifically that these active duty military men and women are being assigned to the Homestead Air Reserve Base. They show up, but they can't actually get into a place to live for almost up to 30 days or more. As a result, they're having to stay in hotel rooms, and they're also having to, pay for meal by meal as far as going out to eat. So it's actually causing quite a financial burden. So I had a meeting with Sergeant Major Sylvia as well as Rosa Brito from the Chamber of Commerce. And so we discussed this back and forth, and one of the things we determined is that the city at the local level can't do much, but we can send a message up to Tallahassee to ask them to address the issue there. And so that's what this resolution does, both for purposes of trying to put legislation in place that makes it for active duty military that a decision has to be rendered within 7 days. And there's also a concept of a master application. And then as a final update locally, what we're working on with the chamber is they put together a task force that is actually going out to all of our local HOAs and informing them of these issues that are the Homestead Air Reserve Base and the active duty military men and women are facing. And we've already gotten, I think, 18 associations to come on board and agree to change their policies to process these applications within 7 days. And we're reaching out to additional HOAs within the local community to try to facilitate that for our local military men and women. I've done a letter on my personal capacity. I encourage my fellow council members to also maybe do a letter to include in the packet that goes with the task force to really drive this point home and try to make some changes here locally. So.
Kudos to you, Councilman Shelley. That is outstanding because not only do they stay in hotel rooms more than 30 days, but they don't get reimbursed up to 30 days. So, they actually come out of pocket and living in a hotel out of pocket until they can get approved by a local HOA.
Mayor?
Yes.
If I could, thank you, Councilman Shelley, for helping us with this resolution. I know I'm actually got on board with Rosa Brito, and we actually went yesterday to one of the HOAs actually within Malibu Bay and met with their master board. First, thank you to Rosa Brito that she's the person that's walking this issue throughout the community. I believe it was the delegates of Keysgate that have already signed on and have a master application for them, and where the house master is actually signing off for these members so that the process gets within the 7 days. We took that over to, I offered my assistance to Rosa, and we've already scheduled a meeting with all the HOAs within the east side that have gated communities to meet with their master boards and bring this issue before them. I'm kind of just walking with her. They've done all the work, and we're just supporting them. And so we did the first one yesterday over in my community, Malibu Bay. And that board, they're going to have to take it into consideration, but they didn't see no issue to oppose it. And we're basically going to give it to their property manager to make sure legally they're doing everything in their capacity, but it had full support. And so we have meetings with the rest of the HOAs that are all within the east side of Homestead. We already set those dates up, so if anyone else wants to show up and show support, we'd appreciate that. But again, thanks to Rosa, Shelley, and everyone else here, because we all supported it to make sure that we're helping our military members here in the city of Homestead. So just an update. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time I'll open the public hearing. Any questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final questions from council? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Woolman,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick,
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Car number 717, replacement of side loader truck for
Mr.
garbage collection.
Mr. Mayor, the next three items would generally have been on the consent agenda, but we didn't have the cow, so if you wanted me to read them all three together, you can vote on them together.
You got my permission. Go ahead.
Thank you. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the purchase of one side loader truck from Next Trend Truck Center, providing for waiver of competitive bidding, according to Section 2411.185, exemption from competitive bidding of the City Code, providing for implementation and effective date. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the purchase of one front-end loader truck from Next Trend Truck, providing for a waiver of bid, according to Section 22411.185, exemption from competitive bidding of the City Code, providing for implementation and effective date. Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, authorizing the purchase of Open Systems International Monitor Gold software support for the City of Homestead Electric Utility Department, recognizing applicable exemption from engaging in competitive bidding pursuant to City Code Section 411A7, exemption from competitive bidding, providing for an effective date. You could vote on these with or without hearing the staff report.
Okay, it's 18, 19, correct?
Yes, 18, 19, and 20.
20. Okay, got a motion to move it? Second, thank you. Anybody want to hear staff? No. Okay, thank you. At this time, take questions from council. No questions here, no questions from council. I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final questions from council. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilwoman Woolman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
That was 18, 19, and 20. 20. Okay, car 506, discussion of potential annexation evaluation. Motion? No, we don't need a motion. Thank you. Discussion. Okay, we're talking about discussion of potential annexation.
Mayor, several members of the council have inquired about the potential of annexing some sites, and Joe is here to outline the process and try to get some direction from you all on whether you're interested in pursuing this, and then also kind of defining for us the scope of the study that would be required in order to do this. So Joe, would you mind just doing a brief presentation?
Yes, sir. This has come about mainly because we found that the county has recently lifted its ban on annexations in Miami-Dade County. It's a ban that had lasted the better part of the last decade. They've lifted that ban, and communities are starting to evaluate whether they want to enter into an annexation procedure. The annexation process can be fairly rigorous. It mainly depends on, once you decide if you wanted to annex a piece of land, submitting a formal application to Miami-Dade County and going through their process. Prior to submitting a formal application, it's best that a community really determine who they want to annex. And you would do this by looking at the surrounding areas and evaluating the character of those communities to see if there's something that you want, and then the cost of bringing those services, providing the adequate services at the level of service that you provide them in Homestead to those communities. So our recommendation at looking at this is a two-phase approach. The first phase, or it's really a three-phase approach. The first phase is to examine the character of those areas surrounding our community, evaluate the costs by looking at the cost that we would have to pay to provide police, no fire, but water distribution, garbage collection, street lighting, street construction, maintenance, parks and rec, building, zoning, local planning, general government, and other services. And once we figured out that cost, if there were any areas that you deemed appropriate to annex, then we could enter into the county's annexation procedure, which is pretty lengthy. It has a lot to do with the rules, and it has a lot to do with other things that happen at the county commission, and it could take anywhere from a couple of months to a couple of years. Ultimately, if you're annexing a portion of the community that has people that vote, if you have 250 or more of them, they have to vote on being annexed. If nobody is there and it's just a business community or a vacant community, and then I believe you can annex them yourselves. The county likes to have everybody in agreement. The folks you want to annex, the surrounding communities, when you go in to submit the annexation procedure. So it's a lot to be felt out. But the first step in the process would be to figure out, if there was anybody around that you wanted to annex and what it would cost to do that. And we had looked at a handful of areas. There's a map in your package. I think there are 4 areas. We just looked at all the surrounding areas in surrounding Homestead and tried to figure out how long it would take and what it might cost if you wanted to go out and do that evaluation. So that's in your package. And if you have any questions, I'll be ready to entertain them now.
How much can you carve this up? Could you take commercial only? Since we go to 288 on 137, if you take 137 Speedway Boulevard, we go all the way to 288. But on the US 1 side, we only go to 15th Street. Actually, we don't even go to 15th Street, where the old Chevrolet dealership is. Could we carve out strictly the commercial property down to 288th on both sides?
You can cut it up in any way you want.
Yeah, because
what the county will probably not want you to do is take highly lucrative places without taking some places that may be that may have issues. So they won't let you essentially cherry pick the best places that provide the highest tax revenue without balancing that out somehow.
And Mayor, one thing I can add, having been through this annexation process before in another city, is it's helpful if the elected body has a broad policy of, for example, in the previous city, it was the requirement for annexation has to be revenue neutral. So if the particular area that we're studying ends up costing us, then we don't want it. And so that's why each area was looked at independently, and then now whether the county likes that or not, that's a different issue. And in terms of looking also at what you're trying to accomplish, understanding why are we doing this in the first place. And in some cases, cities have opted for, well, we don't think it's fair that there's a little area here that doesn't have a city, and we don't think that's nice, and we want to include them. And so sometimes that's been the policy as opposed to it being a monetary issue. In some cases it's been there's some geographic reason, or there's a commercial area that they want, or there's always been some sort of reason why we're doing this. In some cases is the larger the population, it triggers you into a different funding level with the federal government. So there's been different reasons. It's always helpful for staff to understand what you're trying to accomplish with annexation. And if you're not really sure what you want to accomplish, the broader the study, the better able you'll be able to look at everything and then try to figure out what is it that you like and don't like in each of the particular areas.
I was really just trying to grow our commercial frontage, retail, down US 1, because I really don't think the county even they don't take a second look from 288, the area I pointed out, from 15th Kings Highway to 288. It's always seems to be beat up, run down, and they just don't take any interest at all in it. And I don't know, I think since we are so business friendly, I think that we'd be able to sell ourselves to them, and we'd be able to pick up some really, future valuable properties there. There are a lot of empty spots that have not been developed along US 1. Around that Spitzer Dodge area and just big gaps up and down that highway area. So that's what I was thinking. I was thinking out loud, because if you look at the little city of Sweetwater, I don't know how they did it, but they took in the Dolphin Mall. I have no idea how they did, but they were able to conquer the Dolphin Mall, which had to have been a tremendous tax revenue. Yeah, now they're trying to get it right here. They do it in the middle of the night.
Are you comfortable with the list that's in the packet and to do the whole list, or are you just want to do a specific item on the list?
I'm choking to death up here. I was part of an annexation as well with the city, and it was a lot of work. I love the idea about US 1 and the commercial property. I think that corridor is neglected. I'm sorry, I swallowed my cough drop a few minutes ago. So. I think that corridor is neglected. One thing we always wanted here in Homestead was waterfront property. And Bayfront Park has always been a dream to, Dennis is having, but Bayfront Park has always been a dream of mine, because then we could really tout that the city of Homestead has oceanfront property. And we don't have that, and we're missing that. So personally, I would like to see a workshop there and have a broad study done and see what we can come up with, and then choose between or what we want to go after, or if it's feasible to go after. But that's what I would like to see done. And you know, my dad used to tell me years and years and years ago, as we would drive out to Bayfront Park when it was just a little tiny, almost nothing, you know, the marina wasn't there, nothing.
One ramp.
And he'd say, one day you're going to see houses all the way down, you know, to Bayfront Park. Now Larry, don't freak out on me with the Air Force Base. But I mean, you have to dream, and you have to see it, and this is just a way of exploring a dream. But to have that property would be major for our tourism and for our economic development. So I'd like to see a workshop. I don't know if that's feasible, but
I'm for it.
okay.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Workshop? Yes, Mr. Shelley.
Oh, yeah, I'm all favor of workshop. I think, I like the proposals that are here as far as doing a broad study and finding out the information so we can determine is there some benefits going forward to annexation. So I'm all for exploring our options.
So just to clarify then, am I hearing that we should go forward with a study on the 4 areas that are listed here, and then come back to you with a workshop once the study is done? Is that what I'm hearing, or am I hearing you want to have a workshop to discuss which items to include in the study?
I'd personally like to have a workshop to study the items. Instead of we go out and spend a bunch of money and you bring it back to us, I'd personally like to know what areas we're going to spend the money on. You know, take some time and understand them.
All we need is direction one way or the other. Whatever your preference is.
What do you think the expense is? What would you think that you would spend before you would come back to us?
Well, what we have here is each area. The Homestead North is $20,000. Homestead Northeast, Leisure City, $25,000. Homestead West, $15,000, and Homestead East, $10,000. So that really, the nice thing about doing a bunch of them is, see, again, it depends on philosophy. Is if you want to do revenue neutral, but meanwhile there's one in there that we know is definitely not, the more you have in there may help you get to revenue neutral. And so sometimes it's better to study the bulk, because in some cases cities don't necessarily care about revenue neutral because they have other objectives. Diversity is an issue, its inclusion is an issue, so it really depends on what your philosophy here is.
Crime is an issue.
Well, you know, so all I'm saying is the more you do here, the more options you have to shuffle things around if you have a certain policy objective that you're trying to meet. And so I think, Joe, we're recommending all of them if you're willing to spend the money. It really is just a function of money.
Mayor?
Look, there's one area, you don't have enough police officers to take it on. You'd need 20 new police officers, and it's the highest crime area, and you mentioned it there, and I'm not going to mention it publicly, but I'd rather have a workshop to study it and explain, and have the chief and other people tell us, can we even handle that?
So that's what I'm looking for is direction.
That's what
you want a workshop, or do you want to do
spend
the
money
study?
before I have a workshop, but you guys
I got a
vote it up or
question.
down.
I see Shelley at the mic. You want to take a jab at it first? Just one quick question. If, I'm looking at the map, and there's 4 locations that we just mentioned, and if we look at the map, that property that you were discussing, Mayor, is on there already. So my question was, how did we, who kind of picked the 4 locations, and how did we come up with that right off the bat? Because I seen you guys did some work already in reference to that. So.
Yeah, what we did was we just looked at looked at the property surrounding the city and tried to draw some circumference around it, and to include just about everything we could as a 100% look. I mean, you could go further out in some cases, particularly to the north.
Because I see the map, from what I'm seeing is that almost looks like a line from 288th Street, which was what the mayor had mentioned.
Yeah, we kind of just made it up. We just tried to square off the boundaries. There's no real science to it, just trying to apply common sense.
Just for a point that we already have those areas.
No,
that we're
they're
looking at?
just
I mean, that we're looking at. That's what you
guesses
guys
on
are-
my part. I mean, you can change the areas and we can manipulate
Okay.
that as whatever way you want. We just squared off the boundaries, kind of.
Second question, real quick. Has anyone approached us in any of these matters of annexation? Any communities, any person, any business, anyone?
Not that I'm aware of. Nobody's approached us that wants to be annexed.
One more question.
No. In 2000, I think we were in the council together, and I tell you, we must have had 150 people show up to the west who said, no, 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 you're not going to do it. So I hope their attitude has changed, and I hope they feel different about it. Done such a great job.
Is there any time frame that we have to work with in this matter? It's just they've opened it up and
We've
get to work?
opened it up. It's unlimited. I anticipate that they'll be sorting out the process as things progress and maybe even be changing the rules. So it's a very fluid process right now. If you started it, there's no deadline or there's no time frame by which you might expect to get in and out of the process. Some of them have taken years.
One of the things that may be time sensitive, which I saw personally in Broward County, was some cities rushed to grab the most profitable areas, and then there was a lot of other areas that were just left and abandoned, and so then it became a push to try to force cities to take. And so sometimes the more holistic approach is, you know, you look at everything and you try to have a balanced approach here so that you end up with revenue neutral without looking that you are cherry picking. And so that's why studying a broader area does potentially give you some opportunities. Also, if there's some area that you really do want, if you move quickly, you have a better chance of another city not beating you out of the process. But, you know, in one case, I had another city vying for the same area, and we went to ballot, and the other city won. So it really depends on the will of the area as well.
I think the good thing is that there's no city above us. I think it's unincorporated Miami-Dade County, so in that
Who's
sense...
going to fight us?
No one's really going to fight us, but the point is, I mean, we definitely need to take into consideration anything that's time reference. That's it for me.
Real quick. Mr. Shelley.
Thank you, Mayor. I mean, I agree. I think that we need to move quickly on this, whatever we decide to do. I'm not opposed to doing a workshop only because, again, I think that there may be some gains to be made north of 288th Street, and so rather than do this particular arrangement, you know, it may be beneficial to think about expanding also north of 288. So I'm not so sure that a workshop wouldn't be a good idea, but done quickly. You know, not something we say we're going to do, and 2 months later we have, you know, something that we have in the next month, so that we can make some decisions, start this study, and try to move this process forward. So I think I'm fine with that as well, as long as it's done quickly.
Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Jesus.
I have a question. Didn't Cutler Bay annex Black Point Marina?
Not that I'm aware of. They may, I don't know if they even have a formal application in. They may have a map, but I'm not quite sure. I've not seen it. But again, the
think
process
that-
is open now, so
I bet
people can
that's
do what
coming.
they'd like to do.
Yeah. And that's why I think, I agree we need to move quickly and at least talk about it. You know, put everything on the table, because we may not have anybody that wants certain areas that we have surrounding us, but certain areas people will want. And once they grasp a waterfront property, they're just going to come right into the next one as well. So I think we should move forward very rapidly.
But that's what I think the workshop will do. Why spend $20,000 on an area that you do not want and you cannot even handle? Those are some big numbers, I think. So, workshop. All in favor of workshop? Aye.
Let me look at the schedule. I'll get back to you early next week with a time frame.
As soon as we get a date, at least if we could be contacted and get that in motion, then hopefully we won't have to wait till the next council meeting to get that date.
We'll do the best we can.
Breaking that new.
Annexation that the city did, and it becomes quite a political process down the county commission. You're all going to have to be involved speaking to commissioners, because it ultimately comes initially down to a vote of the county commission, in which they becomes quite political. We got it done last time, but it was quite a process. I think Mrs. Waldman, you may have been involved.
And the one you got done had come already once before you, Richard, before then. And I'm telling you, it wasn't, they were fighting tooth and nail.
Easy one, we did it last time.
Okay, so the workshop it is, and you'll let us know. All right, next item, discussion of, we're here. Car 750, discussion of mayor and council staff. Council discussion, comments. Mr. Manager, you want to start that off and tell us what?
Sure. As you requested, I put together a memo that answered some of your questions at the meeting, and then I made some recommendations based on what you had requested in terms of assignment of staff. There is the question of, so I listed in the memo, if you assume the existing staffing levels, who would be assigned to who. If, on the other hand, you wanted to add an additional position, then I'll need some direction on if that's where you want to go, and then how you'd want to proportion that. Right now, it's the mayor with one assistant, and then 2 council people for every additional assistant that currently exists. And then if there's a 5th one, how would you like things proportioned? And then also there is the question of, we did have a question about longevity and trying to encourage, discourage high turnover. And one option you have is to take the temp position that currently exists and make that a full-time position. And that would be an additional cost of $28,000. So that's basically it, and it'd be helpful if we could get some direction on the 4 versus the 5, and then anything else that you wanted to do.
Okay, council?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm comfortable in giving the 4 people a try and seeing how it works out. I've gladly accepted Maria to help me. I think everybody back there is capable of doing a good job. I think with some guidance and some oversight from yourself or your department, I think we can get them tuned up and where everybody can do the things, because as the mayor spoke one night when we started this discussion, is that Lourdes seemed to, Lourdes had been there the longest and seemed to have a grasp of some other tasks that other people didn't have a grasp of. So I think once we make sure that everybody is trained and fully capable of doing whatever tasks they have that maybe they weren't able to do because everybody specializes in little things, but they're not going to be able to do that. And I think we'll be fine with moving forward with the 4 people back there. The mayor has his assistant, which he was asking for, and I think at the cost that's given to us and trying to create a stable situation back there, that's putting a little bit of a burden on the taxpayers, but it's not a ridiculous amount of money. And I think we've got 4 good people back there, and I think that we should move forward with what we have and make the do. I mean, I remember when Patty used to sit there 24 hours a day, I think, now that I look back, and did it by herself. And I look back in amazement now, and I remember when she came to me and said, I need help. And we grew to 2, and then we've grown to 3, and now we're at 4. And I think at some point we've also got to realize that it's very expensive, and that we all need to work as a team and let the girls work for us and work with us. And so I'm very happy with what you've suggested, and look forward to moving forward. Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Mulder.
Okay. Thank you, city manager and HR department that's worked to bring this forward. Following the sentiments of Councilman Burgess, my one question was the training. What are we going to be doing in reference to bringing everyone up to speed so that everyone, is capable, you know, are we making sure that they're all capable of doing the job? And if they are, and getting them the training they need. For instance, if there's someone with finance and one that knows that, so another one doesn't know, when is that training going to happen? Would be my first question.
Couple of things. First of all, we've been cross-training since our last meeting, and we've also looked at areas of efficiencies where we were doing things a little differently than some of the other departments were doing that was double work for them. So we've helped them in that regard. And so I think we're becoming more efficient, and we're becoming cross-trained, and we still have a little more work to do, but the goal would be for everybody to be able to do the exact same tasks, and also everybody would be responsible only for the electeds that they've been designated to. So unlike the previous system whereby one person might be doing one task for all 7, if your assistant is also assigned to the vice mayor, for example, under the proposed plan, then that assistant would handle your items and the vice mayor's items, and that's it. So each staff member would handle just the designated elected's duties, and that was really from phone calls to ordering to across the board. They would just handle that, and what that requires by definition then is that everybody be trained on all the functions, and that's the plan unless there's a different idea.
And the second thing is, as you said, me and Vice Mayor Burgess, we have Maria, and I know that she's on a temp position, so I would hope that this council would consider of making them all, making her a fixed position instead of a temp, with the difference. She's doing a great job. I do see, I mean, I know that they're still in the process of changing, so I do see that there's some work to be done there, but nonetheless, I see that it's easier for them to focus on the task at hand.
And we did want to get clear direction from you all, because we had promised we'd put the recommendations together and the information and get some direction, and then so hopefully tonight, whatever the decision is, tomorrow becomes the implementation phase, but we just want to make sure everybody's comfortable with whatever direction is taken.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll just chime in. At this point, I'm comfortable with the 4 positions. I'm not comfortable with converting the temp position at this time. I think that discussion can be held at the next budget cycle. But for now, we can just maintain the 4 positions that we have now with the 3 full-time and the 1 temp position. And then if that's the will of this council at the budget cycle, then we can have that conversation then. Excuse me. Additionally, once, if approved by the council for the 4 ladies to work with their respective council person, I will hope that they still maintain a spirit of camaraderie as opposed to dividing and conquering and only looking out for their respective council person. I hope they don't go there, but maintain a sense of togetherness and teamwork without compromising the work of their respective electeds. And I also would like to thank you for being proactive in starting to build the capacity and skill sets for all of the ladies to ensure that they can effectively execute the jobs that they've been responsible for. And I have nothing further.
Councilman Shelley. Well, you look like you wanted the mic.
Yeah, I'll be happy to. Yeah, I agree with my colleagues in that I think that we tried the 4. Let's see how that works. I think that that's the best option versus adding additional staff at this time. You know, I'm a little torn still. I haven't really quite made my decision as far as the full-time versus part-time. For purposes of fairness to all of us, to make sure that we all are dealing with equal staff, you know, I think full-time would make sense. I'm not thrilled about the cost factor of it, but also I realize that if the 2 council people that are dealing with a part-time staff member, that part-time temp staff member may be more likely to higher turnover rates than, say, a permanent staff member would be, and so that would be my reason for possibly going and agreeing to the additional expense to make that part-time full-time. But I'm not completely decided on that issue yet, but at the 4 I am.
Yes, Ms. Wellman.
Ashley, speaking to you, Ms. Vera McCormick, I was so happy the other day. I called and Heather was out doing something at finance or something, I don't know, but Marisol answered her line and couldn't be more helpful. You know, is there anything I can help you with? And I said, no, fine. But I mean, she couldn't have been more helpful. So I think that they haven't lost that, you know. In regards to turning the temp position into a full-time position, I think Maria has proven herself. Maria stepped up to the plate, and she helped me so much when I was without any help at all. And I just think I don't think we're going to go backwards. I think we definitely have all proven that we all need at least one person per two council. So in that respect, I would hate to see Maria not be brought up to the same level as the other two ladies. And you know, maybe it's personal with me because I've seen what she's able to do and her sweet spirit, and that she's always willing to learn. Heather's in a learning process as well. She knew the police department like the back of her hand, but she's learning. You know, everybody is always in a learning, I think, has a learning curve. So, with that being said, I would like to see the temp position made permanent for fairness all around and to continue that harmony and camaraderie. And I think it's important that our vice mayor and our council person know that they have a full-time position, a full-time person working for them rather than a temp person. So, thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Manager. You're doing a good job. Just clarify.
Mr. Williams.
No comment.
Okay. Sure, please.
Just a point of clarification is Maria is full-time back there. She threw a temporary service, so it's not a part-time employee. Just in case somebody's confused out there, as we got a part-time employee. She is full-time. She comes through a temp service at a reduced rate to us. Just this is one thought that I have that I think we should all consider. I think as they get their job, get in line and they're doing stuff, I think we're going to see not a dramatic decrease in overtime, but I think we'll see some overtime come down. And there is not a lot of overtime, but there is some. So I think that as they become more efficient and more productive during the day because they know what their tasks are and who they have their tasks to answer for, I think that the overtime rate that they do earn or are capable of getting will decrease as things go on. So I think that there's a net number in there in the middle somewhere, I think, from the number that was given to add a full-time position to where it would end up. I don't think it would be that full number, because I think in my eyes and my heart that they with becoming more efficient and being more focused on their tasks, that they will be more effective back there and a lot more efficient. So just something to think about.
Through the mayor, if I can just clarify just a little bit. Nothing against Maria. She is phenomenal. She's a warm and gentle spirit, and I think she's an asset to the department. But if we move in that direction, that will require a budget amendment. Am I correct? And I'm not comfortable with a budget amendment at this point. If we come back to the table, by all means, I'll be her cheerleader. But right now, I'm just not comfortable with the budget amendment. But it's no disrespect to her. She's wonderful, and she'll be a great asset to the city.
Okay.
Should we? Everyone? Okay. Mayor?
Yes.
So one question I have is, does she's full-time, she's working full-time just like all the other employees there, and she is staying after hours and working overtime. So we are paying her overtime for her being there after hours? Can someone answer that question, Carlos?
Yeah, through the temp agency, she just gets a reduced rate, but she does get a paid overtime. but again, it's at a reduced rate, not at the same thing as the other ladies that are there that are full-time employees of the city.
And is this across the board with every other staff member that's working overtime? They're just at Saturday, right, or are they getting overtime?
All the staff members that work over 40 hours do get paid overtime at a premium rate.
Can I help?
I'll make a motion.
Can I help? I think it's only fair. I totally agree with Mrs. Wallman. You cannot ask someone to do the exact same job in the exact same atmosphere right next to the next person that you just hired. We just hired Heather, who's making double what the temp's making. Double an hour. Because if you look at what the temp agency gets, I know we're paying 20, but she's getting whatever, 10, 11, 12, whatever it is. What kind of message are we sending? So cut the temp agency out of it, so you're going to pick up 10 right there, and come up with the balance of the money, because it's just not fair. You cannot match everybody up there. It's not fair. So my vote tonight is going to be to find the money to take her from a temp agency to an employee where she comes close, even if you don't want to get it, but she's close. So she has the incentive to keep pushing forward and do the job that both these gentlemen say that she's done. And somebody she doesn't work for who's saying she's done. She's never really done anything for me one-on-one, but she's always very pleasant, and it's not even about her and how pleasant she is. It's just not fair. We can't do that. Had you not just brought somebody brand new in, had you not just brought Heather in, who doesn't probably know what even she knows, and say that you're going to pay less, it just doesn't add up. It's like you're saying, you're the stepchild, go sit down over there, and we'll get to you when we get to you. So that's my feeling on it, and I'm gonna vote in favor of her getting paid the same amount or close. If you don't want to pay exact, and I always thought there should have been kind of a little pecking order in there, but then it mixes everybody up. But now that we are cross-training, and now that everybody's going to carry an equal load, I think it's beautiful.
Can I make
but,
a motion?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I move that we extend the meeting to 9:45.
Okay, motion to extend the meeting to 9:45. Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Can I make a motion?
Please.
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward with the 4 full-time positions, and based on that, making Maria from a temp to a full-time employee, and accepting the manager's recommendations for committee, for council assignments. And I think that's it.
Second motion, as stated.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Discussion? Yes, sir.
Yeah, just a quick clarifying question. The additional monies for the full-time, from temp going to full-time, a lot of that's benefits, correct, as far as health insurance and things? It's not, because my understanding is that the hourly pay that we're paying is not much different between our full-time employees and the temp, because of what we're paying the temporary.
Correct. The additional cost comes in with the benefits, because the rates, there's not that much difference with the rates, but it's the additional benefits that the individual will be getting as full-time.
Makes the difference, okay. All right, that's all, thanks.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Also, for charter purposes, the assignment of staffs is city managers, so I appreciate the endorsement, but also we're not assigning staff per se. That's what I'm planning to do, as long as you're comfortable, and the other pieces are helpful for us. The piece that we'll bring back to you is the budget amendment, but we're going to move forward anyway, as long as you're all comfortable with that, and knowing that it's four people is helpful. So if you wouldn't mind weighing in on those items and letting us know so that we can move forward.
For discussion on
Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, but you put their name down. You should have put temporary or temp. You put their name in the record.
Well, what I did was I said that if, assuming that you're going to stick with 4 positions, then my recommendation would be, these would be the people that I would assign to the council members, so that everybody has an idea of which direction we go. We just can't have the elected body voting on.
But you put the name in the record. You put it in here. You should just put temp. You should have put temp instead of their name. But you gave the impression that we were able to do that.
Well, I wanted to
here's my issue. I'm just really messing with you. What if, Mr. Manager, you arrived at these personalities to work with us, how?
I went to each council member and I asked basically who they wanted to work with, and I tried to accommodate everybody as best as I could, recognizing that, you know, there's 7 of you and there's 4 people, and so this was, you know, the best I could come up with under the feedback that I got, and I think time will tell whether it's the right designations or not. One thing I want to make sure everybody understands is that, because we've had this discussion before, is my intent, because you are the oversight body, my intent is not to, even though these employees are within my chain of command, my intent is not to micromanage them, because I don't think me getting involved with your day-to-day business is appropriate. On the other hand, if you're not comfortable with the service, we certainly will intervene and act accordingly. So it's important to get the feedback. And on the other hand, we don't want to be sitting with them daily and asking, what letters are you writing and who are you calling and what are you doing, because we feel it invades on your oversight responsibilities.
So if we at any time feel that the person that we are assigned to, based on what you have assigned to us in your preview because of the charter, what if we can't work with that person?
I would appreciate that feedback, and then from there we'll try to act accordingly, depending on what the complaints are, and to see if there's a way to remediate the problem without a reassignment. And so it's going to be important for us to know, if you're not comfortable, what is it, you know, that's happening that we can address, like any employee issue that we might have.
Okay.
But it is important to get the feedback, because we're really not going to know on a daily basis if you're having issues, and we welcome the feedback. And also, for those of you that are paired, a little bit of mutual understanding that you're sharing a person's time and trying to be respectful of the time limitations would be also helpful to your colleagues.
Any final discussions? No, there's no vote, basically. No, it's just a recommendation. Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. How about bringing amended budget forward?
How about bringing the amended budget forward? Good question.
So my understanding, based on the feedback that we got, is that at least the majority of you are in favor of keeping 4 positions, making the 4th position a full-time permanent employee, and that the assignments that I've recommended there's a comfort level with, and that we'll begin tomorrow making the transition, and also we'll bring back a budget amendment just to move some money over. But we're not going to hold off until the budget amendment. Will start as of tomorrow morning with that, as long as you're all comfortable.
So you're saying you don't need a vote?
I don't.
The
only thing I need is the budget amendment, which we'll bring back to you. But we have 4 people there anyway, and so the issue of that person getting elevated to the full-time position is going to be dependent on the money. But in terms of the assignments and the cross-training, we don't really need any action.
Through the mayor, I'm just sorry for clarification. Who's the majority?
My understanding was on the full-time position, Councilman Maldonado, Councilwoman Wallman, the vice mayor, the mayor, and I think Councilman Shelley, but I'm not 100%.
You're counting votes, George? You're counting votes?
I
think you need a vote on that to make sure.
I just want to make sure the majority.
We want you to stay in the charters of, we want you to stay in the parameters of the charter.
I was trying to
Right.
just
The decision here is up to the manager.
Yeah.
I think that he's getting acquiescence is the word that I like, and that he sees sort of what majority wants, and that's what he's going to do.
Okay, so we make a motion to amend for the amendment?
No, I think
Wait,
I think
you're bringing it back.
You got direction.
Okay, everybody? Oh, ouch. Just kidding. Okay, Mr. Williams, further questions? I definitely don't want to.
No, I don't have any other questions. I just believe that when we say majority, I think you need a voice to say who's majority. I don't agree with what you just said, Mr. Attorney.
What I'm saying is that the council doesn't have the ability to direct the manager, to tell the manager who to assign for his staff.
I didn't. That's not what I said.
Okay, what was the?
He said based on what he has gathered from the majority of council up here to move forward with what these recommendations are, that he had the majority. And my colleague raised the issue of who's the majority.
Right.
And so how can you tell that if you don't do a vote?
I just heard the feedback, but if there's a more formal process.
Right, if you want to get a sense of the council, understanding that it's not binding on the.
Because I think what needs to be on the record is if you're saying this, then then I want to be included into I may not agree, so it needs to reflect that I don't agree with your recommendation.
So I think if the manager's looking for guidance, non-binding guidance from the council.
Well, I think what could be helpful is I'm looking for direction, specific direction on whether there's majority support for a budget amendment, to bring forward a budget amendment to make the fourth position permanent. And so if we can get a vote on that, then that would be helpful.
Okay.
And in terms of the actual appointment of the staff members, that's just the piece that would be contrary to the charter.
I recognize that part, but
Okay, so you can make somebody can make a motion to direct the manager to bring back a budget amendment to increase the staff, full-time staff to 4.
So she made a motion and a second that we did. So you want us to do it again?
No,
For the budget amendment, yeah.
Just amend it to say, to include, to bring back the budget.
Budget amendment.
Sure.
yeah, that's fine.
First, second.
If we were going to spend $60,000 to $80,000 on annexation searching, for God's sakes, we could make everybody, happy in one department that's working together.
Should we call the vote?
Yeah. Call the roll.
Okay, Madam Clerk, call the vote.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Budget amendment.
You're voting on increasing
Bring it
to
back to
4
us.
full-time staff and directing the manager to bring back a budget amendment.
What's it going to cost? How much? Where's it
Just for
coming?
clarification, that what we're doing is not adding a person to the office. What we are doing is taking a temp person who is already being paid, for the most part, a full-time salary, and adding benefits to that person so that they are on an equal playing field with all the other people that are in there. Because I want to make sure it's clear, we're not adding a person to staff by any means. We are only changing a title and adding benefits. That is it. So I just want to be clear.
And just to clarify that, and the only thing we're directing him to do is to bring back the numbers to us. And then we have to make a decision at the next meeting.
Based on.
Correct?
Well, it depends on your will here, because there's a few things I can do as of tomorrow that don't require anything. The first thing is, I can assume that you're comfortable with the 4-person structure and not a 5-person structure, and therefore the assignments that I outlined in the memo would basically move forward and everybody would start officially as of tomorrow with their designated people. The issue of paying the 4th person as a official city employee versus a temp would kick in once you vote on a budget amendment, and that's what we would bring forward. So there's certain things I can do as of tomorrow if that's your will. On the other hand, if you say that you're still unresolved on whether it's 4 people or 5, then I'll hold until the budget.
What you just carved out. Yeah, what he carved out.
On everything and moving the budget amendment to the next meeting so that you can pay the 4th person as a full-time city employee versus a temp.
That would be my motion.
That's the motion on the floor.
And I second that.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
I'm sorry, but it sounds like everything is like clumped together, when I don't necessarily agree with everything. I agree with the assignments and to move forward with that tomorrow, but I don't agree with the budget amendment. So we probably would have to separate the two. I'm voting no for the budget amendment, but I agree with the assignment. So you guys are smart, figure it out, and then let me know how I vote.
Okay, so let's divide it up into 2 parts. So first is to to express your desire, understanding that it's not binding on the manager, but...
Richard, if I can interrupt, I think the two pieces that require council direction and the third one is not permissible. The first piece is 4 positions versus 5. And then the second one is the fourth position being a full-time city employee versus a temp. So if we could bifurcate it that way, I think we'll be okay.
That's where I was going. So that's the first.
amend my motion to say so?
Well, I think what the councilwoman has asked is that this be bifurcated so she can vote on things separately. So the first one is the fourth position, is having 4 positions as opposed to 5.
Lord have mercy.
Let's do this.
So you need so that's the
If
motion.
everybody's happy with the 4 people, say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So that takes care of that. We're gonna take care,
Yeah, but we
we're
don't
gonna
know
do it
who's
with 4
to
people.
say
Wait. That's not how we vote. Let's not do that. That is out of order. That's not how. Richard, you're the city attorney.
It's 9:45. We gotta do an extension here.
You guys are difficult to control tonight. So, okay, the first thing is there should be a motion to express your desire that there be 4 assistants, requesting that the manager assign to you 4 assistants, understanding that within the charter, all you can do is request and express your opinion. So that's the first motion that we need.
Mayor?
Yes.
I will be happy to amend my motion to say that the first part of the motion, that we want to take a vote to determine whether or not we have a majority of people who want to have 4 full-time positions.
Right, so, but the reason is that the councilman has requested that these things be voted on separately, so I think it's
Right.
better to start from scratch. And just make the first motion, which is the sense of the council that you desire 4 assistants as opposed to 5. So if somebody could make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes. Mr. Shelley, go ahead.
Mr. White, the only thing I would say is that the way you're stating it, I prefer you state that we have voted not to hire a 5th assistant, because we already have 4. So I don't want it to sound like we are adding people, not to be very clear,
So
we are
that
not
you're
adding a
expressing
5th
your
assistant.
desire to continue with the 4 assistants that you have, as opposed to having 5.
And not add a 5th assistant.
Okay.
But then the second part
Well,
would
then
be...
we'll get there in a second. Let's just
But
do
I
the
wanna
first
make
part.
sure.
Okay. So we need a second on Councilwoman Mo.
Second,
Okay.
I made it. My
Just
God.
vote on that part.
Okay, motion and a second, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faircloth McCormick? Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank
Okay,
you, Madam
and then
Clerk.
the second piece of this is to direct the manager to bring back a budget amendment to make the 4th position a full-time position as opposed to leaving the person in temporary status.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, got a motion and a second, discussion? No. Yes. Okay.
With this I understand that we're not hiring another assistant, and she's basically has a full-time salary with the temp agency. However, we will incur costs even for her benefits, thus requiring a budget amendment.
Requires a budget amendment, and also from the position count, a temp position is not indicated in the budget as a position, whereas through this action, you'll be creating a position on paper. So the body is there, the body is working, the hours are the same. The only thing is in the budget, it reflects as temp monies, and with the budget amendment, it will reflect as a full-time position, city employee.
So we need a vote on that motion, please.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faircloth McCormick?
No.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
No.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilwoman Wallman?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yeah, we need to extend.
Okay.
Need to extend for another 10
Motion
10
to
minutes.
extend for 10 minutes. Okay,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, here we go. Are we through with that, right?
We're done with
Everybody's
that.
happy? Okay, here, staff report, no, discussion, okay, we're gonna go business from city manager.
Mayor, I just wanted to first, on behalf of all the city employees, thank you all for moving us, because we're very grateful to be breathing in clean air, and we're grateful to the taxpayers for supporting their employees. And so, and to the staff that made it possible. It was a really Herculean task, both in terms of moving to the other building and also to get this space ready for this meeting. And so, kudos to all, because they did an incredible job. You should be very proud of your team.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. City Attorney.
Yes, I usually don't say anything, but I did notice a little frustration on the zoning item. I want you to know that that what we're trying to do is we read you very well. We know where the council's going on these items by watching, and I pay attention. And the fact that that was a complicated procedural matter, we were just trying to get legally to the place where you wanted to get. And the reason that sometimes you see James and I look back and forth with each other is because the things are complicated, and the reason that we have two people here is it's our way of conferring with each other to make sure that we agree with what each other's doing. So if James is looking at me or I'm looking at James, it's no disrespect to the council. It's because we are conferring with each other, and I'm trying to avoid walking over and having a conversation with him and slowing down what you're doing. So that's the reason that that's happening, and it's certainly no disrespect meant, and it's just our way of trying to make sure that what you're doing properly and right, and that's what we're here for. And so, and to the extent that that was misinterpreted, you know, that's not what was meant. We're just trying to get it right.
Okay, moving right along. Councilman Williams.
Yes, Mayor, thank you so very much. This is a request from me. I don't know if my other colleagues would like it, but this is a request for the city manager to give me a monthly cost of what it costs us to be out of City Hall in that new building that we're in, with all of the costs with the setup. How would that work with personnel? Have you counted costs for more personnel to set this up, tear it down, and all of that? So I'd like a report from you on monthly on what it's costing the taxpayers every month that we're out of the City Hall.
Sure.
Is that it? Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, Councilman Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick question to Barbara Quinones. Recently spoke to one of the residents. We spoke briefly over the phone, and some of the light repairs that were supposed to happen in the South Dade labor camp. I just wanted to get an update and see, you know, what's our progress on that. Spoke to one of the residents there, and basically said there were a few lights within I guess a certain area where they play sports in the evening time, and there was no lights working for quite some time. So if you could give us an update on what transpired after that conversation.
I know we went out there, Councilman, on Friday, and repairs were made to anything that was easy to repair. And so I'll have to check back with my group and find out on the additional repairs. All I can say is they must have been more complex, but I don't know the nature of them. I'll have to find out.
Okay. A follow-up question would be, obviously most of our employees are working during the daytime. How is it that, you know, is there some type of quality control crew or a crew that's going out through the nighttime checking our lights? How's that happen, other than someone calling in? And are we being proactive in the matter of identifying any lights that are out in the city and getting them up?
Yes, we've been running crews for several months. While we're in this time of the year where it gets darker earlier, we've been running crews after hours, and they identify they do a patrol and they identify any lights that are not functioning.
And the work that is done, is there any information that could be called upon if needed? For instance, say we had X amount of lights over in the area of the northwest section, and we replace, so on. So we get a report what's happening. Is that something we could call upon?
Yes, if you'd like that information, we can provide it. We keep a log of the lights that are identified as being out, as well as the lights that are reported out to us by citizens. And with the log, we show when they were repaired and what work was done. So if you'd like that, that can be provided.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your quick response, and I'm sure that the community is very grateful that, basically they go out there and play soccer in sports. There's some after-school programs out there, and unfortunately, they didn't have the lights, so they
I move that, what do you
I'm all
want
for
us
it.
to do?
I guess, I don't know, we just need support, I guess, though. Just need
Just,
direction.
I agree. You got it, my support.
That's all, thank you.
Got enough nods? Okay, Mr. Burgess, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to say thank you to Julio and all the people at Solid Waste, because back in, I think it was like September, myself and Councilman Shelley put the task upon him of perhaps coming up with a new schedule and adding in some things. And I've had nothing but positive feedback from everybody wherever I go about how smoothly it went and how easy it is for them to figure out their schedule and how happy they are to be able to have the recycle out there every week and the solid waste every couple of days, the way it falls for them and stuff. So thank you to you and your entire staff for making that a seamless switch over and getting everybody going again and making the whole department and making us all look good with how smooth everything went. So that was one thing. I know I ask you about it at every meeting, 137 and 328, and I know you told me the county's got it in their eyes or on their radar.
It is in their work
but
program.
I want you to ask that guy when you go down there next time, what's the body count he needs to put a light up out there? Because the wrecks that happen out there are vicious, and people get hurt, seriously hurt out there. And we've had fatalities and people that have been maimed, and there's no need. If they've got it on their radar, tell them to come put the damn thing up. And while we're there, we need to start looking, and this
Leave
was
that
one of
out.
the things that I talked about at the, when we built that Everglades Academy, was we needed to stay ahead of the curve on lights and roads. And that light over there needs to be put in place now, because in the mornings when you come down 152 and look at the traffic, there's 25, 30, 35 cars that are backed up on Maury trying to make a left-hand turn to come out of there. And I begged and pleaded that we stay ahead of the curve on this project, and we're not doing it. So we need to look at that. And I think if we get a light there, that'll also help to stagger the 152 and 312 problem, where you sit through 3 or 4 lights in the morning. And I think the county needs to come down and do a recount and time that whole intersection over again, along with us pushing with the Turnpike Authority to make 2 turn lanes there, which we spoke about with them. And they've never gotten back to us, because I had the #1 constituent yell at me this morning as she sat in traffic there for 10 minutes trying to make a left-hand turn, my wife. And it just so happens everybody else is on there. But and I know the county's not easy to deal with, but we've got to start pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. They're in control of it, but we've got to somehow get control of it. And David, Dennis, and the entire staff, thank you for a flawless move. I haven't had one complaint from people that have gone downstairs to the building.
And just to piggyback real quick on the Vice Mayor, do you have that intersection? Has that study been done, Julio, that he's referring to now? Three?
Talking 137th Avenue and 328 is the one he's talking
Okay, but has that been put into action?
That is in there. Yes, it is. Okay. I believe it's already designed, so they're just waiting.
I have this big 1-hour sit down with the county mayor, so that might be my 4th item I take down there. Just say, can you see where we're at with this? You know. So I'll see what
I would implore to him that we need help on a lot more than just that down there.
No, I will. Listen, I've got 3 or 4 serious items for Homestead that I'm going to discuss tomorrow with him, and it's taken me a month to get this meeting to sit down with him, physically sit down with him and go over some of the issues that the county needs to step up and take care of here. So I'm going to start with him at the top and leave them. They're in writing. I have them all. So if you have a study, a copy of that, I'll take it with me. You know, and just say, here's another issue.
Well, actually, it's in there. They're the ones that are doing the project.
But did you have anything that you sent down, a letter or anything when you first started?
I know there's been a lot of conversation
Tomorrow
back and forth, but
the other letter up from you.
Correct. Yes. And but it's in their system, and we have proof that it's in their system.
Okay, I'll just go by address with it and leave it with them. But that's good. It's good to know. Also, how are we coming with the 4-laning process there on Maury East? It looks like it's kind of died.
You're talking the one in front of the school?
Yeah.
Well, actually, they are working. They're still working out there. The thing is, they ran into some muck material that they needed to dig out. So they're doing that. That's why you see when you go there, there's almost like a lake in terms of what they're taking out of there. And they're filling it up, and you gotta do it in layers, otherwise you get, afterwards, the road is not gonna be smooth. But they're still within their schedule, and they're still there. And the other thing that they're working on is that pump station that will take care of the drainage of the farmland. And the structure of that is complete, and they needed to complete that before they finish that portion of the road. And the one thing left on that is just basically the pumps that are going to go into that structure that will basically pump the water out of that farm field into the drainage. It'll eventually end up at the South Florida Water Management District now.
Excellent. Thank you. Governor Rick Scott is coming to Homestead on March 14th. Right now, the time tentatively is set for 11 to 1 o'clock downtown Homestead, the Losner Park area. So, with that said, I'll get with you, Mr. Manager. I tried last week, but we'll reset it again for this week. I have a meeting with his people tomorrow afternoon. So when that happens, then I'll sit down with you and I'll tell you exactly what they're saying. But he's going to be here for about 2 hours. So it's a good time for us all to turn out our neighbors and our friends and ask the tough questions that we all have. congratulations on the centennial celebration. It was excellent. Job well done. The fireworks were incredible. I'll say it again. And kudos on the move. The move was even though I went kicking and screaming, it was really pretty smooth. I was